this is a nothing. Yes, did they play perfect? No, they still win. Yes.
What are you doing if the Celtics win the championship?
If the Celtics win championship, I might break my sobriety. I might act up.
We did it! You got him.
All the way.
Celtics versus Heat. Celtics in what?
4.
Celtics versus Knicks. Celtics in
4.
You got Celtics in 4? Hell yeah.
Use a vocab word from a couple years ago. It's mind-boggling.
That's it, GRG. Let's go. What do you think tonight? You think I'm worried about the Warriors? I ain't worried about the Let's go, baby. 18, baby. Load up the boat.
Why would you say that?
Because
I'm not. No,
recently he's putting up games like
above our head for the players.
literally right now.
But I think when Marcus, especially Marcus, when he got traded, I think that was a wake-up call.
You think right now
Rob,
it's still New York?
I do. And when I think of the Celtics dynasty, honestly, one of the first names that comes to my mind is actually Brad Stevens.
Woohoo! 9 straight. We got 9 in a row. Should we play the intro 9 times in honor of it? I don't know. We might have to. What's going on,
We
everybody?
won't be playing the outro 9 times. I'll tell you.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely not that. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Celtics Talk Weekly post-game show. I'm your host, Rob Atain. Joined with me are my 3 amazing co-hosts. You guys know them: Griffin, Aldridge, Nick, Franco, and Seamus Zara Lingo. Guys, the Celtics tonight, like I said a second ago, have finished off their West Coast road trip with a perfect 6-0 record. Guys, they are now completed a 9-game win streak. This is the first time in Celtic history they had a perfect 6-0 record on a West Coast road trip. They had a 5-0 record back in that 1973 season. Guys, the Celtics, they're red hot right now. They defeat the Memphis Grizzlies 117-103. Like I said, 9 straight. We're heating up tonight. No Jaylen Brown, obviously, with that right knee bone bruise that he's kind of monitoring right now. What did you guys see out there tonight? Again, the Celtics are playing some really good basketball. 9 in a row. I'm going to be a broken record if you haven't heard me yet. 9 in a row. Here we for the defending champion Boston Celtics. So, guys, you know the drill. Our initial thoughts, reactions, and takeaway.
I want to say this. Coming into this game, we've been on that hot win streak and, 9-0, you said it right there. But one thing I want to mention from a few nights ago, well, to start off the road trip, it's something that Seamus said. Seamus said, depending on this road trip is how we will feel about the Celtics moving forward. And I see kind of something like that, but I see a lot of great things from the Boston Celtics. I mean, tonight's game was incredible, wrapped up the road trip, and Boston Celtics went 9-0. So have been on a 9-0 pace. But ultimately, I thought this game, and I don't know if you guys will agree with me, but I will say it wasn't complete effort from the Boston Celtics, and that's fine because look what we did still. I saw in the third quarter, obviously KP was walking up the court. I noticed that a little bit, but still, from me, it wasn't complete effort. And if you could beat this Grizzlies team, obviously we know about the whole coach situation, but if you could beat this Grizzlies team without giving it your 100% all, that's a lot of, props going into playoffs. But other than that, I just love the passing effort. I love how we were moving the ball, just playing team basketball. And honestly, what you guys see going into playoffs is the Celtics needing to play team basketball. And that's what they did tonight. Other takeaways, we didn't see a lot from Shireman, but I love how just fast he is and just wanting to be out there and be played. But ultimately, I just saw a lot of good things from the Boston Celtics tonight. And it's so positive for me moving forward. Maybe not in the Tillman aspect of things, but for the Boston Celtics, great win, and I love to see it moving forward.
Well, the Boston Celtics are officially historical. They're officially historical. I mean, this Boston Celtics club has now officially done something that no other Celtics team in history of the NBA has ever done. And that is, of course, go now 6-0 on this road trip. The Boston Celtics have never, Rob, you mentioned it, they've never gone undefeated on a road trip of 6 games or more. And that's exactly what this Boston Celtics club has done. The 24-25 Boston Celtics, who back in January, we were just complaining about every other game. I mean, it felt like almost every game we were complaining about the Boston Celtics. Now, I mean, this is why we all had, a lot of the fan base had the mentality in January of just wait, because the right time of the season for the Celtics to be clicking was not in January. It's right now. It's the last game of March going into April. That is when we wanted to see the Celtics play well. And guess what? 9-game winning streak, as again you mentioned, Rob, a million times. We still have to keep mentioning it because 9 straight
How
wins
many?
going into
How
April.
many? 9.
9 straight wins going into April. That is something that championships teams ought to do. I mean, that's what they usually do, I should say, out there, is they click at the right time. And that's what the Celtics are doing right now. They're clicking at the right time. They're clicking at the end of March. They've clicked the entirety of March. I mean, they're 14-1 in March. 14-1. Just think of that. We couldn't win 3 in a row back in January. Now we're going 14-1 in a singular month, and 9 straight going into April. Not going to February anymore. We're going into April. I swear, guys. But now the Boston Celtics, they go back home, and this road trip, I mean, to me, it's solidified the Celtics standing amongst the league. And it's funny that we were talking about the OKC title odds increasing over the Boston Celtics last week, because now the Celtics, after this road trip, I don't know how you'd see OKC or any other team as the favorite right now if you're looking at this Boston Celtics club and watching what they're doing at this particular moment, because the Celtics, we've been waiting all season for this type of play. We're seeing it in big sample sizes. And really now, Griffin, we were on a podcast last week. We're on the Celtics Nation Rise podcast. Of course, the plug, go check it out on both pages here. But the Celtics Nation Rise podcast on there, we were talking about how the road trip, do we really expect the Celtics to lose? We were previewing the week ahead. There were 3 games on the schedule, and we were kind of saying, we don't really expect the Celtics to lose any of these games. We don't expect the Celtics to lose anymore. And that's what it feels like night in and night out with the Boston Celtics is we go into games not expecting the Celtics to ever lose. And it's paying. I mean, we're seeing it come off and into reality as now, again, 9 straight wins for the Boston Celtics. And tonight was probably the ugliest game for the Boston Celtics they played ever since that Nets game, if I'm not mistaken, or that Jazz game back at the Garden. I would say maybe the Nets game, if I'm remembering correctly. That one was the latest or most recent. But the Celtics, otherwise, they've been really dominating every single opponent out there. Tonight, the Grizzlies, they went ahead early, but we saw that sea of green late in the game, as I'm sure we'll see here in a second. But that's what the Celtics have been able to do so well as of late, is that close out quarters well, they close out games well, and really they control games. That's what they do when they get the lead and really hold it. We didn't see that out of the Celtics earlier this season, yet we're starting to see it out of the Celtics now at the most perfect time of the season. I mean, this is the exact point in the year we want to see the Celtics turning up and playing well. That's exactly what we've seen, and we're seeing it on a nightly basis right now. And that's, I mean, even this game with Jaylen Brown out tonight, the Celtics were definitely threw out some interesting rotations at times, but didn't really matter. The Celtics went out there, played their best basketball when it was needed, and came out with, I think this was the most solid West Coast road trip win. All the other teams, they're a little lesser teams. The Grizzlies, they're still fighting for something. We all know what happened with Taylor Jenkins, their head coach. I'm sure we'll get to that later as well, but this was the most impressive win on the Celtics schedule in quite some time, actually. And I think it's just another mark where we look at the Celtics now and go, this team is ready for the NBA playoffs. They're going to go into the NBA playoffs hot. And what could end up happening from that is back-to-back titles. I mean, that is what we're on the precipice of if we're, as Celtics fans and, of course, Celtics analysts here. The Celtics are doing something completely special, and they hit a lot of those marks tonight.
I think this was actually the most impressive game out of that 6-game win stretch, other than the win in Phoenix a few nights back. Tonight, the Memphis Grizzlies put up a battle. They were keeping up with the Celtics shooting-wise. They were playing their tempo of basketball throughout the first quarter and into the second half of the second, or the first half of the second. They were playing full court basketball, and the Celtics really did a great job of limiting that during the second half. And the Memphis Grizzlies were simply just not able to keep up with the Celtics shooting tonight. The unselfish play from the team tonight, over 30 assists, being able to dish out the ball when this team is getting the ball moving confidently. It's when you're seeing this team play its most effective brand of basketball. During the first quarter, Memphis was able to get their hands in on a few passes, kind of made the Celtics look a little uncomfortable. So when they were playing with a little lackluster walking and jogging up and down the court, the Memphis Grizzlies were able to take advantage of that. You kind of saw the Celtics take their foot off the gas a little bit during the fourth quarter there. And it wasn't even poor shot selection. It just kind of seemed like the rim had a lid on it for a little bit for the Celtics, and they were able to make their advancements on the defensive end, being able to stop the Memphis Grizzlies from playing full court basketball into playing a slower half court base, trying to settle into their shots, trying to get John Morant to get an isolation look from within a set play, because that's really where the Grizzlies were able to take advantage of the Celtics, was just getting to the rim, being able to find their looks down low, beating the Celtics on foot. But once the ball started moving, the ball started falling into the net. You have Al Horford giving the contributions he did tonight from the 3-point arc, and coming off the bench is just a key contribution for this team moving forward. If they can utilize him, and he's playing, I think tonight the goal and vision was to see if Xavier Tillman could play into that role of the Al Horford. But I think that it's just a rough play for him to be out on the wing. That's where he's the least effective, if anything. You have him scrapping down low, trying to get boards and trying to kick it out to a player like Hauser or Pritchard for a second chance look. But other than that, it didn't seem like it was really working out on that end for him. But all around, great shooting performance. Tatum played a defensive labeled type of game tonight. He wasn't really relied on to be the playmaker as we're so accustomed to seeing him play. He was more focused on attacking the rim, and his attacking of the rim opened up the opportunities for players like Derek White to break the record of most three-pointers in Celtics history in a single season over our boy Isaiah Thomas. And yeah, just to see this momentum only carrying forward, looking at the schedule, it kind of seems like the Celtics got through the meat of it, and you got 2 more games, probably New York and Orlando, that final road trip, and then you're pretty much really set for playoffs. So I think that there's only positives to pull from tonight's game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have 3 major takeaways. The first one I'll touch on is the Xavier Tillman start. Really weird, really random. Out of nowhere, this is a guy that hasn't seen minutes all year. Getting coach's decisions, has not played. He's gone through that stretch recently where he's been hurt. He starts tonight. To me, that is Joe in playoff mode. Okay, I don't want any of these other pieces playing out of role in a playoff type of feel. Normally speaking, if you have your healthy lineup, Jaylen Brown's out there, Horford's off the bench, Pritchard's off the bench, Hauser's off the bench. I think Joe wanted to keep that in the playoff rotation tonight. I think this was a playoff rotation we saw, and Joe's best way to accomplish that was to plug and play Tillman into the lineup tonight with no Cornet, obviously due to illness, in Jaylen Brown. So that's my take on that. My second one regards to Derek White. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit more about him in just a second later on when we talk about the 3-point franchise record. However, Derek White is contributing in other areas of the game that isn't scoring. Back in January, when he was going through that slump, that wasn't a case. He was putting up these tour dates of shooting, and he kind of did today, right? 3 from 11 from 3, 4, 13 from the floor. But what does he do other than that? He grabs 8 rebounds. He dishes out 10 assists. He gets 2 block shots. That's the Derek White that we know. That's the Derek White that's so good for this team. So that was huge. Lastly, Al Horford and Drew Holiday were officially just simply saving it. We saw Al go through that horrid shooting stretch back in December through January alongside most of the guys on this team. And then Holiday's just kind of been all year. He hasn't really seen many minutes. He's been in and out of the lineup. He had that mallet finger, this and that. It's kind of felt like with Drew and with Al, those were my biggest concerns. Those are 2 integral parts of this team, guys. And my biggest concern with this team was those 2 guys weren't going to be able to show up come playoff time due to their age. And that was going to really affect Boston's ability to go to make a deep playoff run. What they're showing me right now is that's not a concern. They've been saving their legs. They've been taking the necessary steps, and they know what they need to do in order to be ready to make a playoff run. Drew tonight, 18, 7, and 7 to go along with the steal. Al Horford, obviously, you see him at the top of your screen. Spoiler, we'll talk about him in just a little bit. 26 points, 9 rebounds, which is up in the air, up for controversy. There's some controversy.
Yeah. Let's get this straight, folks. Google says 10, ESPN says 9, and NBA.com or the app or wherever you want to go, that says 8. So 8, 9, 10 rebounds for Al Horford tonight.
ESPN now says 8.
Average of 9. Of 9.
So we split the difference. But again, just really good stuff from the vets, and it was just very, very impressive from there. And then I guess from a team aspect, I think you guys nailed it. Right now, the Celtics are just playing at an extremely high level. And Franco, you said something that I think is, in my opinion, the biggest positive out of this game, and that was Boston's ability, and we've seen this the other night against Phoenix, to create without Jason Tatum. That is so huge. Tatum tonight did a very poor job facilitating, right? This was just kind of a mad Jason Tatum game. He still managed to put up 25 points and 14 rebounds, right? But it was just mad. He wasn't facilitating. He wasn't playmaking, coming off of a game where he had 8 assists just the other night. What does Boston do? White gets you 10. Holiday gets you 7. Porzingis gets you 5. Horford has 2. Pritchard gives you 1. Hauser has 3. The ball was flying. The ball was moving. Guys, at halftime, Boston had assisted on 20 of their 24 made field goals. So again, you talk about a weakness, right? One of which we saw back in January in February was Al Horford and Drew Holiday's age. It was showing. Another weakness was Boston's ability to create without Jason Tatum on the floor. Here we are through the month of March. Seamus, you alluded to it earlier, 14-1 in that month. I'm sorry, 9 games in a row. May I say that again? And those problems are seemingly just floating away and disappearing. And it makes sense for a team that has the pedigree and is the championship DNA that the Celtics team has, but they're showing us something. They showed us something tonight. It was very impressive. A great win on the road against a Memphis team that is very hungry right now. The Western Conference seeding is so crucial right now. Every loss can really hurt you. Every win can really bump you up. No Jaylen Brown, who is a big part of what Boston does. They go in, they get the win, guys. Very, very impressed with Boston tonight. With that, let's take a look at the lead tracker. Sia Green, a little bit more of a shallow Sia Green. I think it was low tie tonight, but it still works because any Sia Green is a good Sia Green. I'm going to take this, guys. Again, biggest lead for Memphis was 11. On the flip side for Boston was 15. We had 9 lead changes. It was back and forth. You can see there in late in that first quarter, halfway through that second, really Memphis extended that lead. Boston managed to climb back, and then it was kind of up and back and forth to start off the second half. And then again, halfway through that third quarter, it was all Celtic green. The sea of green comes again, that green wave, whatever you want to call it, guys. Again, you look at Boston, what they did tonight in extending the lead and coming back. That's something we haven't seen this win streak, right? They were trailing down double digits, in that on the road, something that we haven't been accustomed to a lot this year, right? They were able to come back. They were able to take an 11-point lead and eventually flip it to a 14-point win. Guys, what did Boston do tonight in that second half, really in that second portion of that third quarter, that allowed them to open up the floodgates and eventually walk away with a very impressive win on the road?
I mean, I feel like just finding their identity, almost like, they know who they are. It just, I feel like it was honestly a slow start. You see that first quarter, Boston only scoring 25 points opposed to 32. And then you fast forward even to that second quarter, just 41 points. Like, that's amazing. Opposed to 29. I mean, just playing better defense and getting it done on the offensive side of the ball, just playing better offense and just playing more team basketball. And then you saw it. The Boston Celtics didn't give up that lead for the rest of the game, as you see in the third quarter, 26 points, outscored them 26-24. And then finally in that fourth quarter, outscored them 25-18. So, like, I think it's just honestly the Boston Celtics just clicking, obviously they started off to a slow start, not seeing very positive things from the Boston Celtics, but then they're like, we got to get back into this game. I mean, they had an 8-game win streak on the line, and they want to keep that rolling. They want to keep the momentum going into playoffs. And I feel like you mentioned it already with that Tillman kind of going in there because they want to have Al Horford come off the bench and stuff like that. And I think just the team clicking, the thing about the Boston Celtics and them being so deadly is when we're clicking, we're the best team in the NBA. I mean, I wanted to kind of also mention on Drew Holiday. You were talking, Rob, about him and Al, just them being older, and people might have concerns, but I wanted to say this. Holiday is what makes the Boston Celtics so good. You saw that difference maker last year in playoffs, and I think I mentioned this either on the podcast or I mentioned this a couple nights ago on Celtics Talk Weekly. But the reason the Celtics ultimately won Banner 18 was because you added Holiday, and he brought so much for you in that playoff series. And you see when Holiday's playing for what Boston wants him to, passing the ball, playing good defense, being able to score the basketball, he is the difference maker for this Boston Celtics team. You may like it, you may not. A lot of people are not big on Holiday, but I'm just saying when he's clicking, this team is clicking. So I think it's kind of, they start off to a little slow start, and they're like, all right, we got to pick up this momentum, and we got to start playing Boston Celtics basketball.
Well, ultimately, the Boston Celtics tonight, looking at the all-around effort. First, you guys mentioned Xavier Tillman. I know we have a Xavier Tillman advocate on here, and Mr. Franco down below me. Xavier Tillman, I can't even be mad at Xavier Tillman because Xavier Tillman is constantly put in a position of failure by Joe Mazzulla. Constantly. And tonight was the latest example. Now, the reason he was in the starting lineup, I infer, was number one, he's facing his former team in the Memphis Grizzlies. You have a little bit of that motivation. You have, hey, if you want to give Xavier Tillman a little bit of an opportunity at the end of the season, hey, maybe you throw him in against his former team. You go ahead and do that if you're Joe Mazzulla. But it's also from the standpoint of, well, Memphis, they're running with their lineup tonight. They have basically double bigs. They have Jaren Jackson Jr., who's that more stretch five. You could call him a four, depending on where you're playing him within the lineup. And then you have Zach Edey, who is a true center. And so for the Boston Celtics, they were going double bigs. But I liked your point, Rob, where the Boston Celtics and Joe Mazzulla specifically, the coaching staff, they were getting ready for playoff basketball. They're still bringing Al Horford off the bench. Not really. That's what I kind of noticed with the lineup tonight. It wasn't necessarily disrupted from the standpoint of the starting five wasn't disrupted. They still played the way they wanted to with Xavier Tillman, outside of Tillman shooting a million threes and seemingly missing every single one of them. But even the bench, I believe the Celtics only went, 8 deep tonight, if I'm not mistaken? 8 deep off the bench. I think Shireman was your we talk a lot about Shireman just in general, but Shireman, looking at the Celtics and what they were able to do tonight, I mean, they brought in only they went 9 deep. So Horford off the bench, Pritchard, Hauser, Shireman, and then they started Tillman, but Tillman only played 8 minutes tonight. So I did think this was an example of the Celtics ramping up towards playoff basketball, not only throwing out the rotation in which they did, which I will say, if you look at Baylor Shireman tonight, there's some positive in there. Baylor Shireman got the call over Torrey Craig and Jordan Walsh in this situation. And now all of a sudden, if this is the playoff rotation, maybe Baylor Shireman actually does get a run come playoff time. But it looked more like the playoff rotation tonight, plus Tillman in that spot for Jaylen Brown and really fulfilling that double big lineup for the Boston Celtics, starting against another pseudo double big lineup in the Memphis Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies, they're a big, tough, physical team. We saw it here tonight where they were dominating the Celtics in the paint early on. I felt like they were dictating the pace on the Boston Celtics, but Celtics got those shots going, and the team basketball right now is just phenomenal out of the Celtics. 19 assists by halftime. 19 assists by halftime, and for the game, the Celtics passed to 30. So I mean, they're consistently passing over 30 assists. 30. The Celtics are getting to that 30 assist mark right now, and that to me is just something that has been wildly impressive. Because at the beginning of the season, we were talking about, oh, the Celtics team basketball looks a little bit disoriented right now. It's a little too Pritchard heavy. It's a little bit too Tatum heavy. The rest of the offense isn't necessarily coming around, and there's a lot of hero ball going on within the Celtics offense. But as the season has moved on, the Celtics have actually gained that cohesion, gained that chemistry, and they've gained it back since last season. I mean, last season, this was the Celtics team we saw last year play at the end of the year, and they were clicking at such a high level. Now the Celtics are doing it yet again at the time in which they need to be doing it, and just bringing up their assist number, period. The Boston Celtics in the last couple of games here, the assist numbers, let's just go down some of the assist numbers as of late. So tonight you had 30 assists if you're the Boston Celtics. Against the San Antonio Spurs, the Boston Celtics, 32 assists. Against the Phoenix Suns, you had 33 assists from the Boston Celtics. You go back, Sacramento, that game, if you're the Boston Celtics, you have 28 assists against Sacramento, 31 against Portland, 27 against Utah, and that was the start of the West Coast trip. And then even before that, the two games against the Brooklyn Nets, you had 24 that second game, but 29 in that first game. And so that stretch for the Boston Celtics, that assist stretch, I mean, that those numbers right there, they're increasingly going towards 30 each and every night and really getting to that mark on some nights. And the Celtics, that's very indicative of their team basketball right now and their unselfishness on the offensive end of the floor. The offense is clicking at such a high level right now, and it doesn't really seem to matter who's in the lineup. Everybody is playing team basketball. We've seen Tatum miss a game. We've seen Brown miss games. Of course, Porzingis, we just saw his long absence, but the Celtics through it all have been clicking as a squad, as a unit. And this is, again, what makes playoff teams so dangerous, and what you ultimately need as a championship team is to play different styles. I mean, that's what makes teams so dangerous. That's what makes champions. In the Boston Celtics last year, they were able to play any style of basketball they wanted. And this year, going into it, yeah, there were some questions. With Drew Holiday, Al Horford, were they going to be as versatile this season? Were you going to be able to play them in certain spots? That opened up some opportunities for guys off the bench that aren't as versatile. But now at this point in the season, I think we're seeing the Celtics, they can play whatever way they want. They're switching their style of play every single night, whether they're facing a smaller team, whether they're facing a bigger team. I mean, think about against the San Antonio Spurs, you're facing a smaller team there. In San Antonio, go to Memphis tonight in Tennessee, and you're facing a just completely different squad. I mean, San Antonio doesn't have anybody like Zack out there, and Zack is just an absolute monster from a size perspective. And the Celtics were able to play both ways and win both games. Obviously, the Grizzlies gave the Celtics some, a little bit of a. I mean, back at the Garden, back in December, I mean, the Grizzlies dominated the Celtics. It was only a 6-point win, but that game was domination by the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, tonight, the Grizzlies, of course, gave the Celtics a run, yet it wasn't enough. No Marcus Smart, no Taylor Jenkins, of course, with this Grizzlies squad anymore, so maybe a couple of differences there. But regardless, the Boston Celtics went out there. They played team basketball defensively. It wasn't great the whole game. The first quarter, they didn't really get out to the best of starts. But as you saw the game go on, I mean, after that 10-0 run, the Grizzlies started the second half on a 10-0 run. The Celtics go into halftime. They're up 5 points, and then all of a sudden, Grizzlies, they break out a 10-0 run to start the second half. That's when we saw Tillman just brick. I mean, Tillman, that's the only two portions of the game Tillman played. It was he started the first half and the second half. He got a 4-minute stint in the first half and a 3-minute stint in the second half, and that 3-minute stint was just brick. Just it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And in that stretch, the Grizzlies went on a 10-0 run, but the Boston Celtics for the rest of that quarter, talking about the defense for the Boston Celtics, only 14 points allowed the rest of the quarter after that 10-0 run. And that ultimately kind of shut I don't want to say it didn't end the game for the Boston Celtics, but that really helped the Celtics going ahead into the fourth quarter and going towards the end of the game when the Celtics were eventually able to make that separation and some cushion there at the end of the game. The Celtics, the way they've been playing as of late, I'm going to reiterate it. This is exactly the way the Celtics want to be playing going into the playoffs, playing team basketball, playing hard defensively, playing multiple styles, trusting multiple guys. And we're starting to see that playoff rotation kind of take its form right now. A couple of extra question marks. Baylor Shireman, what are his minutes going to look like? And what style, it could end up in the playoffs, who's starting which games. You could have Al Horford. Most likely you're going to have that juggernaut starting five out there. But if the Celtics needed to make some sort of adjustment, I believe they would be able to do that. And I think that's part of the experimentation for the Boston Celtics right now. But tonight, all around, right now in the season, I'll add this on too with the Boston Celtics. They're starting to hit historical marks every single night. And I just want to bring up real quick, this because Franco mentioned it earlier. So I was like, hold your horses, Franco, because we were coming up on it. The tweet wasn't prepared yet, but it is now. As you see here, the other night we talked about it, Franco, when we were in here, when we were playing the San Antonio Spurs. But tonight, Derek White, the most three-pointers in Celtics history. Derek White takes over the top spot for Isaiah Thomas. Of course, we talked about it on postgame the other night. As we know, it was likely to happen. He was only 1 3-pointer away from tying him. Not the greatest of shooting nights for Derek White to notch the record on 3 of 11 from 3, but hey, three-pointers put him 2 over Isaiah Thomas, and we all know what Isaiah Thomas did within that season. We talked about it the other night. Isaiah Thomas 5th in MVP voting that year, 29 points per game, and really just a magical season from Isaiah Thomas. Derek White, for all the trouble we've given him this year, he's the record holder for most 3-pointers made by a player in Celtics history. Jason Tatum and Peyton Pritchard not too far away either. Tatum, Pritchard, or White could take that over. But Derek White, I'll say tonight, not the greatest of shooting performances, but some history from D. White tonight. But it just goes along with the Boston Celtics playing well and hitting those historical markers. Derek White, there you go. Franco mentioned it earlier, but Derek White officially in the Celtics history books as the player with the most made threes in a single season for the Boston Celtics. Of course, that could change, but as for tonight, congratulations, Derek White.
How ludicrous is it that we're going to have 3 players?
I was just about to say that. Can we get that back up? Can we flash that back up real quick?
100%.
Can we look at this? 20. Look at that. White 1. Tatum and Pritchard. Tatum tied for 3 with himself back in 2023, and then Pritchard. That's nuts.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that shows you. That shows you how good we are.
What's even more insane too is I'm just going to point out Antoine Walker and Paul Pierce were just. When you go back to those Celtics teams, it's like you talk about jack and threes. My goodness, if you're 2002 and 2001, the fact that they're on this list, they obviously held some records for a while, all the way up until the 2016, 2017 season. But yeah, just looking all the way down the list, Tatum. Just pointing out here, Tatum, one of the greatest Celtics ever. Every time we watch him, I think about that, and I'm like, one day, Tatum is going to be seen as a Larry Bird type figure, and we lived through it. It's like we actually lived through Jason Tatum. He's on this list, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, 4 different seasons. That's just insane. But yeah, there's so many things to pick out from that list right there, just in general. But Franco, you can go ahead there.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a point in time where Tatum's gonna, if his tenured career ends in Boston, there's a chance that he could be pretty much filling up that entire list at some point. But I was tuning into post-game interviews, and Tatum, Pritchard, and Derek White are very aware of this record, so they are competing very heavily with each other right now to see who's going to finish off the season with the record, and that's a very good problem to have for the Boston Celtics heading down this final stretch.
So Franco, you're saying look at this, look at the list right now. You just mentioned those 3 players knowing their spots, right? The season started with the Celtics just jacking threes in the fourth quarter against the New York Knicks. You're telling me the season could end with just Tatum Pritchard and White just going ham against Charlotte game 82 to get that record.
Oh.
And that would be amazing.
Well, you know what? I will say this. Tatum took 11 tonight. I mean, Tatum has not been shooting the ball so great from behind the arc recently. That's funny you say that because I've been keeping an eye on it, and this is about the time his shot kind of went last year, was right towards the second half, back half, end of All-Star break. I'm not saying that's going to happen. And I will say Jason Tatum is a much more complete player this year. He still managed to put up 25 and 14 alongside that 2 and 11. So he's still getting his, but I do think it's worth bookmarking, guys. These last couple games is that Jason Tatum, again, quality of shots. Boston's playing free flowing right now. These games really, in the grand scheme of things, they don't matter too much win-loss. So maybe like Seamus and Franco, like you guys said, they're not, they're aware of this record. Maybe they are just taking about 4 or 5 more per game to try to, outgun each other. But I have noticed that Tatum his 3-point shot is a little below what you want to see. You want to see Tatum sit right around the high 30s. He's been sitting right around the low 30s the past couple weeks. So it is worth checking in on.
I'll say this too, not to bring up another negative, but another player on that list, Derek White, just saying, slowly kind of leaning more towards taking more and more threes. As of late, we all know the season turned around when Derek White started to go to the rim, started to be aggressive, started to kind of balance out his shot selection a little bit. Last couple of games, just saying, from Derek White. And he started this game 1 of 7 from 3, 3 of 11 to end the night.
Right.
The proportion of shots lately out of Derek White, I don't want to see it turn towards just 3, 3, 3, 3. He did hit a big one down the stretch of this game, so we'll say that about him. But you got to see that balanced stat sheet from Derek White. We haven't been seeing that a little not too often lately.
I will play devil's advocate here. I still do think there is more penetration in facilitating coming out of him.
I mean, tonight, he had 10 assists tonight, I believe.
10 assists. So I do think he's kind of found the happy medium there. But I agree. I think from an offensive standpoint, scoring wise, because there are gonna be games this playoffs, you need him to score. I think you have it on you kind of nailed it. He's kind of tracking a little bit further back with the shot selection.
Can I say something though with that? I feel though it's the fact that you guys obviously see them, like their numbers going down a little bit, but it's the fact that the Boston Celtics team as a whole can just kind of fill that gap kind of and still come out of these wins. I think that's the most impressive part about it, where you see obviously Tatum's numbers down a little bit. All right, whatever. Derek White's hucking up a lot, but still, it's still the fact that the team can come together. Holiday can still score. Brown can still score. Porzingis, Horford, Pritchard. Like that's the great substitution factor that I like to see.
100%. And can we talk about Al though? Can we get into that? Like Al Horford. I'm sorry. I can't wait any longer. The SeatGeek player spotlight tonight, guys, is Mr. Timeless himself, Al Horford. Guys, Al. Oh my God. 1 second. There is a typo on the screen.
And it's not in rebounds? It's not
in rebounds. It is not in rebounds. It is in the classic date of the game. However, let's talk about Al Horford. Let's talk about SeatGeek before we talk about Al Horford. There it is. You noticed it. Let's talk about SeatGeek. Guys. Yeah, they are coming home, and the Boston Celtics right now are playing some of the best basketball there is in the league, and you're not going to want to miss it, guys. SeatGeek has you covered for all the best ticketing prices out there on the market. At checkout, use code Celtics Weekly for $20 off your first purchase. Guys, SeatGeek would never get a date wrong on your ticket. So in honor of SeatGeek not getting the date wrong, let me do you guys a service and get that date correct. So there we go. Guys, so again, huge shout out to SeatGeek for being the sponsor of the post-game show this year. Again, Celtics Weekly at checkout, $20 off. And it's playoff time, guys. You're going to want to see this historic now, officially historic squad take the court. Yes, so like $20 today's saves off those fees, saves you off those. You got some good games you're gonna be able to see. So again, guys, let's talk about Al though, right? 26 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, a +13 on the box plus minus. 50% from the floor, just under 50 from three, 6 made threes on 13 attempts. Guys, it feels like we're a broken record right now with Al Horford. And you see David chiming in there. Shout out to David. He is such an underrated part of what Boston has done and the domination, and the Celtics taking their energy up a whole nother notch, guys. And Tatum was asked about that post game, and Tatum said, it's impressive when you have the oldest guy out there on the floor being the guy that's playing with the most energy. And we've seen it, and we've talked about it, and we've given so many flowers to Al Horford really the past month. But guys, tonight it just feels like when you're seeing what he's doing, it feels like this man is in store for what could potentially be his best playoff run yet as a Celtic. We remember what he did for us back in that 2022 NBA Finals, eventually what was a fallen short championship run. But that run, we remember how big Al Horford was. This man really being the 6th, 7th man interchangeable with Peyton Pritchard on any given night. Just how big could Al Horford be for this stretch, and how important has it been for him to ramp it up these past couple of weeks?
Oh, super important. I mean, you look at Al Horford, like all right, I'm gonna go back to last year again. I know I do a lot, but just last year was so amazing. And you've seen how badly he wanted a ring, and you see how much he loves the city of Boston. Al Horford is just an incredible player, and just it's the fact that people will mention LeBron a lot and be like, all right, LeBron's doing all these numbers at his age. But Al Horford was never a LeBron type player. He was never in GOAT conversation. He was never, he was kind of a middle of the pack player, and it's just the fact that he's getting older, and essentially I feel that sometimes for the Boston Celtics, he gets better, So it's just the fact that he's older, obviously, as David has mentioned a lot in the comments, his big toe. Yeah, definitely keeps you up at night for sure. That left big toe sprain. But just the fact that he could just the fact that he could see that left big toe. Just the fact that even with that left big toe, he'd go out there and give it 100% for Boston. But
I'm starting to think that left big toe might not actually be a left big
Nope.
toe. That's right.
No, it's awful. You do not want to see Al Horford with the socks off. It's awful.
Oh, it's terrible. That's
yellow. It's yellow. It's red. There's pus everywhere. I mean, it's
yeah. We talk
folks,
about
it's bad.
We talk about how scary that was with Seamus scaring us about the new owner. That's terrifying. You don't want to see him with his shoes off. Keep that way. That's something scary that you don't want to unlock. But other than that, though, in all seriousness, he's just incredible. I mean, it's just the fact that I grew to love Al Horford. Like I will say this, just watching him. Honestly, before he got traded, just him in Boston was one of the big reasons why I became a Boston Celtics fan. I mean, I loved his game. And when you look back at that old team, I looked at, IT obviously, but then you had kind of getting into a little more, you had Smart and Al Horford. I loved Al Horford. He was my favorite. I would say he's my first favorite Celtics player, that I actually grew to love. Just for the fact that he came back to Boston, won that ring, and now he's just giving you so much. And he's showing you, look, all right, I'm older, but I could still give you so much, and I could still provide so much for this team. Yeah, I might not be in the starting lineup every night, but I could still come off the bench in that 6th or 7th role that you were talking about, Rob, and still give you 26 points, 9 rebounds, and this. This is just incredible. And it shows you how essential he's going to be into playoffs. We go back to him dunking on Giannis, giving him that elbow, one of my favorite plays of all time I look back at. But it's just even going into playoffs, the energy that he's been giving us as of recently and that we're going to see in playoffs. And I'm going to go back again. Drew Holiday is another key asset too. Just the two older veterans on your team are just honestly the boost that brings you to that championship, that boost that brings you to taste that Larry O'Brien trophy. And I'm just super excited because it also shows that some of the nights the boys might not be getting it done, but Al Horford is that veteran leader that could be all right, let's calm down, and just kind of a coaching role. I think honestly the thing, I don't know if he's older than Joe Mazzulla. He might be.
Yeah, by 2 years.
Yeah, so it's just the fact that he's older than Joe Mazzulla, and he could kind of, we've talked about, I don't know if we mentioned it much on here, but Celtic City, if you guys watch that, kind of when Bill Russell was a coach and a player, I feel like it's almost kind of, you give Al Horford kind of a role like that too, where he could coach them kind of, hey, look, you got to do this, you got to execute your game plan like this, and just be kind of that even father figure on the team too. So it's just that you don't see from Al Horford, that it probably goes unnoticed, but ultimately he's been incredible, and going into playoffs, he's going to be that boost that brings us again to the Larry O'Brien trophy. Just don't take off the shoe.
Can I say something real quick? Thank God Kyrie Irving isn't on this team anymore, because he would have not liked the father figure comment on that team. And if you know, you know. If you know, you know.
We don't want to repeat NBA history out here in Boston, but I will say, we get so in depth on this post-game show that we talk about Al Horford's feet. I mean, that's our true value here, folks. I'm sure a lot of people, they'll be thrilled to hear that out there, that we're talking about Al Horford's feet tonight, but that's where we get to. That's the depth we get to here on Celtics Talk. It's inside the socks.
Content goes down.
Can I say something too? You might not be able to see his feet, but we could give you a virtual visualization of it.
I don't want to.
No, like we're gonna create our own segment. Like, they used to have inside tracks. We're gonna go inside socks. That's what we do. Just inside socks.
That's something
that'll be the deepest. That is the deepest point you can get to with it. I don't know. Maybe you could get a little deeper, but I don't know. But okay. Okay. I'm just. Wait, what? Oh, me. Wait, Franco, you put it up. Somebody put it up. There we go. We're like both tapping it. That's why it's going off the screen and on the screen. Anyway,
but it's Al Horford's feet.
We are not media trained.
So Tatum. I'm just saying. Tatum's ruffles or Tatum ruffles on Instagram. Al's feet. I mean, I'm just ideas. I'm just throwing out ideas. Anyway, wrangling this back in, because we do have.
How did Al Horford play tonight?
So Sock Weekly is crazy.
Okay, so we do have some numbers on Al Horford here. The show's going to get a little bit more serious because Al Horford did something historical tonight, along with the rest of the Boston Celtics club. Players 38 years or older to score 25-plus points off the bench in a game. Al Horford tonight. Michael Jordan, Ray Allen, old friend Ray Allen, Manu Ginobili, Jamal Crawford, and Eddie Johnson. Al Horford with 26 points, 9 rebounds. Hey, we got some backup on those 9 rebounds there. 6 made three-pointers, as we all saw in the stats. In the Celtics win over the Grizzlies, but look at that list of players right there. Al Horford joins those players, of course. A lot of longevity included in that list in the NBA, of course, having to play to at least 38 years old, but scoring 25-plus points off the bench in a game. Al Horford, he joins a list of really a lot of legends in here for one reason or another. And Al Horford, this is where the Celtics team is so impressive, is they have multiple players on their roster who are exceeding expectations. I mean, look at Peyton Pritchard this season. He's going to be 6th man of the year. You have MVP candidate and Jason Tatum on your roster. You have Al Horford, who's 38 years old, putting up 25-plus points off the bench. That is absolutely insane if you're the Boston Celtics in terms of players overachieving. But what Al Horford also did tonight, Al Horford's 26 points are his most in his second stint with the Boston Celtics. All right. So, of course, Al Horford playing from 2016 to 2019 with the Celtics, and then 21 to the present day in 2025. So Al Horford's 26 points are his most in his second stint with the Celtics. He last scored 26 points on February 5th, 2021, while with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And think about this. That is 4 years ago. That's over 4 years ago. Al Horford scored at least 26 points in an NBA game, regular season-wise. I will say there were a couple playoff games in there with the Celtics during his second stint, during Al Horford's second stint, where he did score 26 or more. And those dates were, of course, June 2nd, 2022, Game 1 against the Golden State Warriors in the 2022 NBA Finals. Al Horford scored 26 points there. And then, of course, in Game 4 against the Milwaukee Bucks in 2022, that was May 9th, 2022, Al Horford scored 30 points there, and that was his That was his high for the Celtics in his second stint with the Boston Celtics. And so Al Horford has 2 games, both in the 2022 playoff run. I'll point that out right now, too. If you look at some of Al Horford's highest scoring games in his second stint with the Celtics, where are they coming? Well, 2 of them came in the playoff run. Tonight comes, 7 games before the playoffs? Al Horford, when it gets time to perform in April, when it gets time to perform in May, in June, of course, Al Horford before now, as we can say, Al Horford steps up and meets the task. But I mean, this stat right here is crazy. Regular season wise, 4 years since Al Horford scored 26 points in a game or more. So Al Horford, that just shows his level of play tonight. 6 3-pointers made on the night. Al Horford, and I will say, what made this performance better for Al Horford, and I don't want to pick on other players, but I'm going to have to, is you had Xavier Tillman starting over Al Horford tonight, which was, of course, a story. And you had Al Horford coming off the bench. Xavier Tillman is out there trying to replicate Al Horford's role within the lineup. We thought that that's what his role was going to be coming here last year, being traded to the Boston Celtics from the Memphis Grizzlies. We thought Xavier Tillman was going to come in, and there it's on video, folks, on this exact YouTube page. You can go scroll down, do it after the post game, of course, not right now, but scroll down, you can find it. We're talking about Xavier Tillman replacing Al Horford in the long run. Could this be our Al Horford replacement when Al Horford retires? We're not talking about last year or this year, but whenever Al goes, will Xavier Tillman be Al Horford's replacement? And Xavier Tillman just really didn't. He hasn't lived up to that. I mean, last season we saw him play quite a bit down the stretch and into the playoffs when Porzingis was out of the lineup. But this season we haven't seen Xavier Tillman at all. Tonight, we finally saw Tillman in the starting role, starting the first half and the second half. And Tillman, he was literally playing as if he were Al Horford within the Celtics offense. He was taking those corner threes, taking those open threes that the Grizzlies were giving Xavier Tillman, and he couldn't hit a shot. Meanwhile, Al Horford, he was coming into the game for Xavier Tillman in those scenarios, and bam, 3-pointer, bam, 3-pointer, bam, 3-pointer, almost immediately, both times, first half, second half. And I hate to say it, but the way Xavier Tillman was playing out there, and then the way Al Horford replaced Xavier Tillman, I mean, it made Al Horford's performance look even more impressive considering he's the 38-year-old player, not the 25-year-old player in Xavier Tillman. And he is that player who came out there and made the difference for the Boston Celtics during those moments. And right now, I completely agree with you, Rob. Al and Drew, and I'm even going to say this, Porzingis as well, because Porzingis had a great outing tonight as well, and he's been phenomenal ever since his return from an absence. But the injury-prone players that we're thinking, is Porzingis going to be healthy come playoff time? Is Al Horford, Drew, are they a little too old? That's again out there on the page. You can scroll down. Regression with Al and Drew. What's going on? No, folks. No. I mean, this is why they were playing down to competition earlier in the year. This is why they were resting earlier in the year. This is why they were taking a million 3-pointers in terms of Al's game, taking a million 3-pointers, never going to the rim, never really mixing and matching it up, really playing minimal roles in the Celtics offense or just Celtics in general. It's because they were saving it for this time of the year. I mean, Drew Holiday and Al Horford have completely turned the corner, and that's what I think has been so big within the Celtics team outside of the Celtics, just putting in general effort on both ends of the floor, clicking, really going through all of their game plan, whether it's defensively or offensively. The Celtics' entire team has been clicking as of late, but Drew Holiday and Al Horford, those guys have just made a world of difference because their experience out there, I look at their experience, 15 years in Drew Holiday, 17 for Al Horford. They're still athletic. They can still impact the game, and they still do it at a high level. No other team out there. That's why OKC, that's why we have to look at them and go, I mean, who is their most heavily experienced player right now in Oklahoma City? I mean, I don't want to name it off the bat, but
Henrik Williams, maybe
Caruso. Probably.
It would either be Caruso, it would be Caruso, Kenrich Williams, Shea, but then all those guys. I mean, look when they came to the league. That's 2018, 2017. I mean, we have guys. Jaylen Brown came into the league in 2016. Kristaps Porzingis came into the league in 2015. Derek White 2017. Tatum 2017. And then, of course, you have Al Horford and Drew came in 15 and 17 years ago. And that's where I look at the experience for this Boston Celtics club and go, no other team has this out there. The experience level and not only that, but those experienced players. The mix of experience, yeah, exactly. The mix of experience plus that being at such a high level, that experience coming at such a high level and making such a high impact on the Boston Celtics, that's what no other team has. No other contending team really has. Maybe you could say the Lakers with LeBron, but I mean that's LeBron. It's 40-year-old
And it's
LeBron.
just
He's their superstar. He's their
like
superstar. And meanwhile, Al Horford's kind of our sixth, seventh man. And that's
Right.
what can be that's where the difference we talk about there. This team has been thin at times this year, but the experience factor, the ways in which they can play, this Celtics team is deep. Al Horford makes them deep. Drew Holiday makes them deep, and they really do. When at the end of the day, make a ton of difference for the Celtics team, as we saw tonight.
Well, let me spew out some stats for you guys real quick. Drew Holiday over the last 10 games is averaging 13.5 points, five assists, 4 rebounds, shooting 39% from three. That is the key right there. He was shooting right around the low 30s, right, for a huge portion of the year. Now he's shooting almost 40 with about 5 taken per game, guys. For me, and again, you look at Drew, it's the mix. He's taken 5 threes, 5 twos. That's a good mix. His averages are up. Al Horford over the last 10 games. Mind you, this is 38-year-old Al Horford. He's averaging 14 points, 8 rebounds, almost 4 assists, a steal, a block, shooting 46 from the floor, 36 from deep. So, guys, again, like Seamus said, when you have these two experienced veterans, right? Drew Holiday being a 2-time champion, Al Horford being to the finals twice, being a 1-time champion finally, that is going to be so crucial when you're matching up against a team like an Oklahoma City, like a Cleveland, like a New York, like Indiana we saw last year, whoever you might see in this playoff run. The one thing that Boston finally has, they finally have it over the rest of the league, is that championship pedigree, that DNA, that and you saw it creep. You saw it last year against Indiana. It showed up. Neither team had won a championship before, right? I believe no player on the roster, on the court outside of Drew Holiday last year had won an NBA championship before in the Eastern Conference Finals, but Boston had been there before. Boston had been on the losing side. They knew, and they made every big play in that series. The Brown corner 3, the comeback in game 3, the steal from Drew Holiday to ice the Celtics going back to the NBA Finals. Like, they made every key play, and it was the experience factor creeping up. Seamus, you talked about the experience of Al and Drew. Absolutely. What makes Boston so special, though, in my eyes, too, is then you even go down the list on the younger guys on this roster, right? The 26-year-old, the 27-year-olds. Here comes Brown. He's been to 2 NBA Finals and 6 Eastern Conference Finals. Here comes Tatum. He's been to 2 NBA Finals and 5 Eastern Conference Finals. They're your 2 best players, right? So you look at
champion.
Exactly right. Even Pritchard and Hauser. Here they are, 2 guys off the bench. It is so huge when you have your 2 bench guys, right? Your 2 sharpshooters off the bench who have played in huge, massive games. Pritchard made some big time shots last year in the finals. Obviously, we know what he did in game 7 against Milwaukee back in 2022. Like, these are huge, crucial moments that these players have been a part of. And when you look at Boston, right, Horford and Drew, their play is massive, right? Because that experience only goes as far as their play can take them, right? It really only creeps up if that play can, really be there and the production is there. The production is there with Horford and Drew. You see it over the last 10 games. The production standpoint is massive. And from one last thing for me, from a play style standpoint, it felt like all season we've been waiting for the Drew Holiday and Al Horford attack to the rim when they got the smaller guards or the smaller forwards and those post-ups. They were so efficient at getting easy buckets. Drew, from a playmaking standpoint, hasn't been there all year. Here we are, Drew tonight, 7 assists. They're attacking the paint. They're getting down low. They're they are experienced guys, and they know when to turn it on and when they need to turn it on, guys, and they are turning it on, and it's been very impressive.
Just give us banner 19 already, please.
We gotta earn it.
You gotta earn it.
Well, so hyped up over here, right?
Yeah, I have a tendency to do that. I can be the hype man. If hey Joe, if you need a guy in the locker room to get him going, you know where to reach me. But I do want to talk about for the remainder of the season, because I do think it's worth talking about, guys. So the Celtics here, obviously winners of 14 of their last 15 games. They almost went undefeated in March, hadn't they lost that game on the TD floor to the Oklahoma City Thunder on March 12th.
Let me know something about that, Rob, real quick. I don't want to talk about OKC the rest of this, but I'll say this. Oklahoma City, only 1 loss to an Eastern Conference team this year. So shouldn't feel bad about losing to OKC
Yeah,
for March.
OKC right now is gearing up for what could potentially be a very special regular season. They're creeping and looking at 70 wins, and it's very possible that that happens. They beat Chicago by 40. So again, that's a different conversation. But when you look at a Boston standpoint, guys, right? 14 out of the last 15, they have won. They hear their remainder of their schedule. Franco, you talked about it earlier. There's really only 2 games left on this schedule that could potentially be Boston losses. It's the last remaining road trip on April 8th. It's a back-to-back, and April 9th. You fly from New York City on the 8th down to Orlando on the 9th, guys. Outside of those 2 games, Boston has 7 games remaining. That is Miami, Phoenix, Washington at home in a 3-game homestand. They fly out, like I said, to New York and Orlando for a 2-game road trip, and they come back home to finish off the season with Charlotte twice on April 11th and April 13th, guys. So 7 games here. Does Boston have an opportunity here to kind of finish off this year on what could potentially be a 16-game win streak? Is that in the realm of possibilities here?
It is.
Franco, can I just say something really quick? You and I were right. I'm just saying, like, we're creeping up on you and I being right in that conversation. I forget if Rob was there or if it was just Seamus.
Seamus, I think.
Okay, yeah. With that 60 wins, I'm saying. I think.
Well, so Boston has wiggle room to lose 2 of these last 7 games and still eclipse and still hit that 60 win mark.
Yeah.
So that seems like it. I don't want to say a shoe-in, but I highly doubt seeing. I don't see Boston going 4-3 in these last 7. So I would say 60 wins should be there. I'm right now looking at, could Boston potentially match what they did last year? Right? Because if they win these last 7, that puts them at 62? There's 2 games back of what they did last year in what felt like a 2-month stretch where Boston went MIA. And here they are potentially matching the historical season they had last year.
And go ahead, Franco.
We were joking about that, and we were saying if the the Celtics would have to lose 1 more game to make it 62. Right now, if they went undefeated for the rest of the season, it would be 63, if I'm not mistaken. But
would it 63? Okay, my fault.
And I think
so they can lose 3 more games.
Yeah,
they can lose 3.
Yeah, what we said
You're
was
right.
the Celtics were going to win 62 wins, and they were going to lose that final Charlotte Hornets game at 1:00 on a Sunday.
No, you got to that's when Pritchard gives you 40.
Yeah, that
or 92.
50.
Right,
Oh yeah, 92.
Yeah.
That's right.
Pro Am Pritchard. Pro Am P.
Can I tell you something? Everyone watching this probably is like, oh, they really are casual Celtics fans. I'm just...
No way. But I want to say
hearing these numbers we're throwing out tonight. I mean, we brought up Eddie Johnson on this program.
No, I'm playing.
I want to say this regards to the Celtics now they're closing out the year. This team, I'm going to give them the stamp of approval, I think, of being better than what we saw last year. What we've seen the past month and a half from Boston in terms of an effectiveness of the game and understanding of the game, I think they're much better than what we saw last year because I think the connectivity is there. I think they are, and I think you saw it creep in against Phoenix. We talked about it a little bit there on that post-game show. Tonight you saw it where the ball is just flying around the court, is just flying, and they know where everyone's spots are. From a defensive standpoint, Boston is really kicking it up into high gear. And I think I've said this, I've been a broken record, defense with the Celtics team offensively. Their floor is still so good that if you put up the worst defense or offensive night, as long as that defense is there, you're going to be very difficult to beat. And what I'm seeing now, being winners of 14 of the last 15, is that you figure they go 14-11 over that stretch, that 25 game stretch, which is a quarter of the year, no, more than a quarter of the year. That to me tells me, so if they're pacing and they get 4 losses, right, and they have 7 more wins, this Celtics team is looking right on pace with Oklahoma City. So again, mind you, right? A big preface, right? You can't just wipe out a 25, game sample size and just add 7 more wins. That's not what I'm doing here. What I'm saying though is that at Boston, when they've played their best basketball, which was the first 25 games and has really been the last like 27, 28 games, will eventually be the last like 33 games. They are playing the best basketball in the NBA. In my eyes, have eclipsed and surpassed potentially what we saw them do last year. And they were a very difficult team to beat last year in April, guys, in May and eventually in June.
Well, go ahead, Griffin. Go ahead.
Oh no, go
ahead.
Steve. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say something about. Well, no, I was actually going to ask you a question, Griffin and Franco, because do you guys remember which post game that was?
I
Let me
don't.
look at the schedule really
The
quickly.
record wise, because
I want to say it was either Portland. I want to say it was Portland.
I think
okay. I knew it was likely Western Conference. I couldn't remember Nets game, Western. I don't remember, but regardless, at that point in the year, well, first of all, actually, that wasn't that long ago. So just throw out that statement. We have not lost since that point. We have not lost since that game.
Franco and
at
I
all. Because I remember thinking that night, we have 2 games to spare until we don't get, or it was like 2 or 3 games to spare until we don't get 60 wins. And yet I look at the rest of the schedule, I go, we're likely getting to that point. Because 7 games left? We would have to go 4-3 not to get to 60 wins? Or no, we would. Let's see, we're 50. We have 56.
4-4.
I would say the record, I just realized the record on the bottom actually is wrong because we have 56 wins tonight. So, hey, good thing we're talking about this right now. But we have 56 wins tonight. The Grizzlies have 31 losses on the year. But when we were talking about that, it didn't seem that likely the Celtics were going to eclipse that 60 win mark. Yet now, I would say it's becoming more likely than not. I mean, they have to go 4-3. I mean, where are those 3 losses exactly coming? I mean,
they'd have to go 3-4. They'd have to go
3 and 4 to miss it. So 4-3 would actually get it. So 4-3 would get it. So it's like, yeah, we are likely on that tilt towards 60 wins at this point. I think we're gonna get 60 wins, but that again just leads me to the conversation of well, look at what we're talking about with the Celtics team at this point. Rob, you kind of already mentioned it, where last year we were a historical Celtics squad. This season we're almost matching that number. I mean, I already look at our record, 56-19. That's an impressive record, regardless of what type of season it is, no matter what type of team you have.
But with a 25 game sample size of them playing 500, which makes it even crazier in my eyes.
I know. I even look at those games back then. This happens every single year. I'll say this. Every single year you can pick out about 5, 6, 7 losses where you're like, really? Like to the Rockets, 13-point lead in the 4th quarter. You allow Amin Thompson and Dylan Brooks to go absolutely crazy on you in the 4th quarter. Dylan Brooks 10 threes in that game. It was just ridiculous. I mean, against the Raptors, against the Kings. I mean, the Kings, you went into the Hawks. I mean, the Hawks
that was tragic.
I mean, again, like that's just 4 right off the bat, right there. I mean, the Sixers on Christmas. Seriously, that's 5 right there. You make up 5 losses. I mean, right
up
there,
double digits against Oklahoma City on the road. There's another one.
And I think I might have a not to bring up OKC again here tonight, but just want to throw this one out there because we did mention it and just mention OKC again. But here's why, just throwing this out here. This is what I was talking about for everyone to see. Thunder have clinched the best single season record by a West team versus the East in NBA history. So 28-1, the Thunder against the Eastern Conference this year. That kind of reminds me of what the Baltimore Ravens versus the NFC, and the 1 loss is against the New York Giants. This 1 loss, I believe, came actually against the Cleveland Cavaliers, ironically enough, but that's what we were mentioning earlier. So the Celtics losing that 1 game to the Thunder, or both games of the Thunder. Hey, the first half against OKC could have made a mark on that schedule, but again, the Thunder don't feel too bad for losing to the Thunder, Celtics Nation. It happens in the regular season playoffs. It's a much different animal, as we know. But the record and what this team is trying to achieve at this point in time, I'm in disbelief. I mean, that January run, I was thinking maybe 57, 58, 59 wins, but it
Yeah.
right now feels like we are going to, blow past.
62. 62.
Yeah.
It feels like we're going to blow past that 60 mark. And just to think that's the case right now, and where the team is, we are on a completely different spectrum than where we were in January. We were worrying, this team isn't going back to back. You find not only out of us, but just a bunch of content creators out there, whether it's nationally, locally, whoever, right? Paying attention to the Celtics every night, every other night, never, who cares? Everybody was going, the Celtics, the Cavs, the Thunder, the Celtics don't look as formidable, 500 in that 25 game sample size. Yet now, this is why the experience comes into play so much in the NBA. Is the Celtics, with their experience and where they've been, they knew the process of the season. It's not only about the process of the playoffs, but it's the process of the entire season. We didn't want to see the best basketball played in December, January. That 22-23 Celtics team gave us their best basketball in November and December. October, November, December. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they were a part of that team. That's not what we wanted to see this season. We didn't want to see the best basketball in December and January. We wanted to see them compete back then. They kind of lacked in that area. However, they took their foot off the throttle, and for good reason. Now they're putting it back on the throttle, and there's nothing on court right now that tells me that this Celtics team, they're going to run into issues come playoff time. They're going to run into tougher competition, don't get me wrong, against the Cavaliers and Thunder if they end up playing those two teams in the playoffs or whoever out west. But I just look at every other team and I go, I don't see other teams really giving Boston as much of a problem in 7-game series settings as we once maybe would have thought back in January, where we're going, could we even beat the Pacers right now? Could we beat the Bucks weren't great back then, but hey, they were coming off that NBA Cup title. They were kind of ramping it up a little bit. Kind of fell off after that, I will say, but we were looking at teams like them going, how are we even going to beat a team like Atlanta in the first round? Atlanta comes in and gives us competition at the TD Garden. We already mentioned it, that overtime loss to Atlanta. That was the narrative with the Celtics back in January. Now I don't see them losing a game in here. They're too juiced right now within their effort, their cohesion, their talent. This is the prime Celtics team we want to see, and it feels like it's a lesser Celtics team than last year, because last year is the gold standard. They won the title. Oh my goodness, they made it over the mountaintop, and then this year they haven't done it yet. So of course that's naturally going to make them look as a lesser team than last year. But I think, Rob, your point right now on the Celtics, they might be at their greatest point they've ever been. This is year 2. They should be better in year 2. They should have more chemistry, more cohesion in year 2, more experience, more knowledge. And now I'm looking at where this team is actually going at this point in the year. 14-1 in March. That has to be talked about more in Celtics Nation. 14-1 in March. That's what good teams do. They perform in March and April. March and April going into the playoffs. The Celtics, it's like, we don't care about that 500 ball back then. We're just going to lose one game in March, and that's going to be it. If you would have told me that back in January, I would have went, yeah, I don't have to worry about the Celtics team. You can go defeated, not undefeated, just defeated. You could just lose every game in January. As long as you go 14-1 in March and you go into the playoffs playing well, I right now I'm not seeing another team out there that it's playing at such a level as the Boston Celtics. And yes, we're going to see competition, but right now with the record and going forward into the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs, we're going to see something special this year from the Boston Celtics at some point in time. We're already seeing something special, but we're going to see even more specialty come in the playoffs, whether that's first, second, third, and then into the finals. I think that's going to be the scenario in which we see in front of our face, because this Celtics team, they're clicking. They're really clicking better than any Celtics team I've ever seen at the end of the season, quite frankly. Even last year's team, I don't know if they were at this level.
I'm so happy you took it to the competition, because I talked a little bit about it, before, a little bit ago. But if you look at Boston comparative to the East first, right? You look out East. 2 teams come to mind. You could dabble in 3 potentially, but not really. It's Cleveland in Indiana, right? Those are the 2 kind of teams that you look at in the East and you think, okay, those are probably one of the 2 teams that the Celtics are going to see in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now you could look at New York, but New York right now, with Brunson currently injured in their weak play, that the weak play that we've seen has just kind of derailed their season, and I don't see them as a threat. The weak play against the upper echelon of the NBA. So, all right, Cleveland, and I really want to hone in on this Cleveland matchup real quick. Now, here we are on March 31st of the NBA season, only sitting 4 games back from first. This is a Cleveland Cavaliers team that started 15-0, guys. And I just want to preface something. If Cleveland were to start 15-0 and from that point on play 500 basketball for the remaining 57 games, or 67, 62, I don't know, 67, I'm correct. Got 67 games of the NBA season, they would still be the 3 seed. They would still be the 3 seed if they played at 500 ball for the rest of the year. They would still be the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, guys, right? Boston's 4 games back. Cleveland had a jump start ahead of Boston. Right. Cleveland had the utmost jump start on Boston. And here's Boston, who, again, I'm going to allude to it again, played 500 basketball, right? Essentially just said, we're going to go through the motions for 2 months here in the dog days, right? And we're 4 games back. So as a Celtics fan, I look at Cleveland, right? And I think to myself, okay, you couldn't make up any more ground. And I get it. It's a tough task, right? They won 60 games. But guess what? That's what you're dealing with. That's the opposition, is a really tough task. That's who the Celtics are. And they are going to be a brick wall to anybody in the Eastern Conference. They just are. When they're playing their best basketball, they are just this force field that can keep you away from getting to the NBA Finals. So that's a Cleveland standpoint. From a Western Conference standpoint, and I really want to look at Oklahoma City, because right now, I forget what podcast it was on. I want to say it was with Justin Turpin. But I said I don't see Oklahoma City doing this. And I think I'm going to retract that statement. Right now, I would be utterly shocked if Oklahoma City doesn't make the NBA Finals. It would be probably, and I'm going to flash up that, I'm going to, Seamus, can you flash up that graphic again?
Yeah, we got rid of it. We can bring it back.
Sorry about that. I just, when you look at Oklahoma City, thank you. So let's look at this real quick. 99, 2000 Lakers made the finals, won the finals. 06, 07 Mavs made the finals, lost the finals. 15, 16 Warriors made the finals, lost the finals. Common trend here. If you're doing stuff like this, you're probably gonna, at least at the bare minimum, make the finals. I mean, I have to give credit where credit is due. Oklahoma City really is just levels ahead of the West. And I don't think that experience factor is going to creep in and catch up to them in the Western Conference. So I want to say that. In terms of the NBA Finals matchup against the Thunder, right? Celtics versus Thunder. This is potentially a 70-win team we're looking at right now with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, credit goes to them. What they're doing this year is historic. So Boston's going to see this team in the finals, and that's when the experience factor creeps in. You look at a matchup, 7 games, an NBA Finals, the magnitude, the history, what goes into an NBA Finals. I do not see the Oklahoma City Thunder outclassing, because at the end of the day, in the NBA Finals, you have to outclass the other team. You have to make championship plays. I don't see that happening. And when you're the Celtics and you look at the competition, you look at the field, there are a couple of things. There's 2 factors that kind of get you by every series, right? There's a couple more, but I'll spare you some time. 2 factors. 1, talent. You look at the talent and you just say, okay, this team is just more talented. From 1 to 8, they're just more talented than who they're playing. And then the second aspect on those teams that kind of close the gap on a talent and depth standpoint, experience. The Celtics are just more experienced, and they have been there, and it is their time. The Celtics fell victim in 2022, 2020, 2018 of other teams' times. It was LeBron's time, and then it was Jimmy's time, and then it was Steph Curry's time. It was just their time. They had paid their dues. They were in their primes. They were experienced, and it was just their time. And to me, I look at the competition, and it's one of those 2 things. Either Boston's more talented than probably everyone in the East, I don't think experience really matters in the East, because I think even if this team wasn't that experienced, they still outclass the Eastern Conference. I think Oklahoma City, and we saw in the regular season, from a talent perspective and a standpoint, they go toe-to-toe with Boston. I mean, they are good. They are really good. I mean, they play good basketball. They're well coached. They have star power. They got depth. They can play defense. They can score. SGA can get you a bucket, foul baiting or not. He can get you a bucket. They got what it takes to win an NBA Finals if the Boston Celtics didn't exist. And that's the catch. And I think you guys are going to start, it's going to creep up, where here you are in a 7-game series in Oklahoma City, and you're down 6 points on the road in Boston in a game 3 where the series is tied 1-1, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, what do we do? What do we do? We haven't been in this situation before. What needs to happen? Dagnall hasn't been in that situation before. What needs to happen? And I think, or at home, vice versa, where you got the lead with 4 minutes, you're up by 4. Oh, here comes Tatum, here comes Brown. Stuff like that happens in the finals. And when you look at of a competition standpoint, here's my end of the summary, right, of my rant here is there's 2 main things that separate the Celtics from the field. They're either outclass them in talent, or they outclass them in experience. And in the playoffs, when you got a team that's playing red hot, that can outclass you in talent and experience, good luck. You're probably not going to beat them in 7 games.
Can I just add on to that too? It's just the fact that the Boston Celtics, like, I'm going to go backtrack to your original question. It's just the fact that you guys already mentioned it so many times, that we're playing such good basketball right now. It's like we couldn't figure out a better time to play as good basketball as right now. I mean, this is where you get fiery hot. And I'm going to say this, even going back to the podcast on Celtics Nation Rise, we were legitimately concerned at that point back in January. Like, we had special guests on, and we were hoping, all right, maybe they'll give us some positive. No, they were concerned too. Like, that was legitimately a concern. And I think the Boston Celtics, in a sense, knew what they were doing, because look, they're playing out of their minds right now. They're playing the best basketball they have all season. And look where it is, right creeping up on playoffs. So if that doesn't show you how the energy and the momentum is going to be pushing into playoffs, and it just shows you, like, kind of going back to what you said, Rob, and what I said the other night, it's just the experience factor. Like, they got it done last year. They won the championship, and the whole team is back. All right, yeah, you don't have Brissett, you don't have Spee. All right, those are some guys, whatever, you didn't really use them a lot. But it's just the fact that we're back there. Like, we're going back. We have our core. We have the team that we just got it done with. And like you said, and I want to go back, kind of, Rob, what you said a while ago. Heartbreak. OKC hasn't went through a heartbreak. You know, the Boston Celtics went through that. And you look at those storylines, it's like heartbreak and just the experience of being there. OKC hasn't been to a championship with that core that they have. And you got to put that into consideration. And I love the facts that you're throwing out, because it's just that experience factor. The Boston Celtics, all right, you talk about Drew Holiday. He's had it not only on the Celtics, he's been there with the Bucks as well. You talk about all these players on the Celtics who's been to the finals, Eastern Conference Finals. We know what we're doing. And we're finally at that mature stage where you could see that Tatum and Brown are in their prime and they're doing what they need to do. It's just that experience factor and how we're all locked in and we all know how to get it done and what it takes to get it done. And it's the fact that we're playing out of our minds right now when playoffs are creeping up. It's not like, all right, we are playing out of our minds in January, then we'll slack off a little bit. Then by the time April comes around, we'll play like mid again. No, we're playing out of our minds right now at the perfect time, because this momentum is going to carry over into playoffs. And I've been the biggest advocate about how the Boston Celtics have to get rid of their bad habits. And they have been. Obviously today you saw a little bit of them taking their foot off the gas pedal, but they got it done. But it's been the fact that they've been keeping their foot on the gas pedal. They've been getting rid of these bad habits that we've been concerned about. And the Boston Celtics are playing the best basketball that we want to see. And this will ultimately bring you to Banner 19. It's what you want to see and what you're looking forward to.
Well, I want to say something about both the Oklahoma City and the Celtics right now, the Thunder and the Celtics. Number one, the Celtics, when you look at the record right now, and I look at last season, when I look at the historical marking in which the Celtics achieved last year when it comes to their record, from that standpoint, I look at the whole record, right? Not only the regular season record last year, but the postseason record for the Boston Celtics, 16-3. The only three losses, it was game two against the Cleveland Cavaliers, game two against the Miami Heat. Hey, that'd be great if we didn't do that at home this year again. First two playoff series, please Celtics, just win your home games. And then of course game four in the NBA Finals in Dallas, which set up a great game five in Boston for the Celtics to come home and win the championship on the parquet floor. So that game four was completely fine when it comes to losing a playoff game for the Boston Celtics. However, 16-3 record last year, I would say it's going to be hard for the Celtics to achieve that same record this year because you could see more losses in a series, or you could see, I shouldn't say more losses. Okay, technically you could, but you might see equal amount of losses in a series this year if you're the Boston Celtics. You might play a 7-game series against the Cleveland Cavaliers. You might play a 7-game series against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Those could be 3 losses right there. Or even if both of those series went 7 games, 6 losses. That completely eclipses last year's playoff record for the Boston Celtics. However, the Celtics still have a chance to do what the 2001 Lakers did. Rob, you mentioned that 2001 Lakers team earlier in the season, and you know what's crazy about, I believe it was the 2001 or 2002 Lakers. Regardless, pretty much same team. I believe it was the 2001 or 2002 Lakers. I went back and watched an old Inside the NBA clip back in February, and they were talking about the Lakers, and they were going, this Lakers team, they haven't been the same as they were last year, as dominant as they were last year. I don't know if we believe in them come playoff time. Do you believe in the Lakers come playoff time? And what's so crazy watching that clip is thinking to the modern day, this is what the Boston Celtics are going through right now. That Lakers team won a championship. Can't remember if it was 01 or 02. Of course, Lakers three-peated 2000. 2001, 2002. It was either the 2001 or 2002 team, so either the three-peat team or the back-to-back team. Regardless, Celtics trying to go back-to-back, put themselves in that category. And that clip was explaining exactly what the Boston Celtics were going through right now, or really this season. I shouldn't say right now, because right now the Celtics are ramping it up. But that 01 Lakers team specifically, and that's the team we were talking about on the broadcast earlier this season. Rob, you mentioned them as a comparison. When the Celtics were kind of in the rut, trying to turn the corner a little bit, we mentioned them. And we mentioned them from the standpoint of the 2001 Lakers are typically the gold standard. They, in the playoffs, they lost one game. It was game one of the NBA Finals when Allen Iverson stepped over Ty Lue. I mean, that's one of the most iconic moments in NBA history. And the reason it's so iconic is because Allen Iverson in that game was the only superstar, and really Allen Iverson on that 01 Sixers team was just carrying that entire squad to the finals, carried him throughout these into the finals. Mutombo was on that team, Eric Snow. There were still some pretty great players on that team as well outside of Iverson, but it felt almost like that IT level of squad. 2016-17 Celtics, they were really, I mean, they really hinged on Isaiah Thomas playing well. The team could play well outside of IT, but IT was pretty much the entire offense, scoring 24/7. His usage, which is through the roof. That was the same with Allen Iverson in 01. And the reason that moment was so iconic in game one is because the Lakers never lost a game outside of that. I mean, the next 4 games, the Lakers just gentlemen swept the Sixers out of the series. And in the Western Conference, the Lakers went completely undefeated. The Boston Celtics this year, I'm not saying they're going to do something like that, but they still have the chance to go into the playoffs the way they're playing right now and almost match next year's record, not only from a regular season standpoint, from a postseason standpoint as well, because of how well this Celtics team is playing right now. I really do believe we're going to see some of the most dominant basketball come playoff time, especially considering, I mean, you look at this on the season. Let me just flash this graphic up right now. Road wins, most road wins in a season in NBA history. There is a little bit of a typo here on this graphic by Sean Grandy. It's the 24-25 Celtics, not 21 through 25, but at 24-25 Celtics, 32 road wins in a season. That is tied for third most all-time behind the 15-16 Golden State Warriors, and then, of course, the 95-96 Chicago Bulls. The best teams in NBA history. I mean, literally, 73-9 Golden State team, and then you have the 72-10 Chicago Bulls team in 95-96. So the top two teams in this category, best teams in NBA history record-wise, 73 wins, 72 wins. After that, you have the 70 Celtics. We were talking about them the other night. Hey, maybe we should give them a little bit more credit in Celtics lore. We're giving all the credit to the 80s, but don't forget about the mid-70s. The Celtics were pretty good there too. 73 and 75. I mean, 100%. We gotta culminate a question about Dave Cowens. We gotta get on that. Dave Cowens and then St. Louis native JoJo White. St. Louis native JoJo White. Shout out to JoJo White, of course. R.I.P. to the late JoJo White as well. But 97 Miami is on there, which is just insane. Nobody ever talks about the Miami Heat back in the 90s.
Michael
But that's
Jordan
shortly.
happened.
That was shortly after Pat Riley took over, if I'm not mistaken, down there in Miami. But 21-22, this is where the Celtics, they still have to be playing well come playoff time. That 21-22 Phoenix team, 64 wins in the regular season. That 2022 title looked locked up at a certain point in the regular season for Phoenix. It looked like it was almost a no-doubter that the Suns were going to the finals. Instead, they lost round 2 to the Dallas Mavericks. The Warriors, of course, made the finals. They were the second best team out west that season. The Warriors, we all know the history of that, Celtics Warriors finals. But Phoenix was a great team that season. But the Celtics, 32 road wins, 2 road games left. And I believe one of those, it's against the Charlotte Hornets. The other one would be against,
No,
let's
I think they're
Orlando,
both
Orlando and New York.
New York. So both.
Oh,
two
Orlando.
hard
So the Hornets game. Sorry, yeah, you're right. The Hornets games, I forgot. We played back-to-back road games against the Hornets last year. So those back-to-back Hornets games will be at the Garden. So New York and Orlando, 2 teams still playing for something at New York. Oh, actually, New York, they might be playing. Are they locked into their spot yet? Whatever.
think
New
so.
York and Orlando. I mean, they're playing for a little bit of something at this point in the season, trying to play well going into the playoffs. But yeah, there you go. I mean, the Boston Celtics historically, from that standpoint, tonight, just bringing that up real quick because talking about the Boston Celtics and their historical record at wise, they could be. I could see a scenario where how the Celtics are playing now, they could dominate this playoff run. They could win a championship. They could put themselves on par with those 3-peat Lakers teams back in 2000, 2001, 2002. And the conversation throughout the season will once in time or eventually in time be a little jaded where people forget some of the struggles of the Celtics in December and January. They will forget about that in time. And the Celtics right now, that I think they have the opportunity to really put that. They've already put that past them. But in terms of the memory aspect of the Celtics, if they don't win a championship, we'll kind of remember it as up and down season. And they got beat at the end there. But if the Celtics win back-to-back titles, they're going to be on that echelon. Those Lakers teams, those 3-peat Lakers teams, some of those Bulls teams, the Warriors back in the 2010s. But I will say, speaking of the Lakers, I actually believe, and this is going to be folks, bring out the fire extinguisher. Just go get it in the corner over there.
We got a Seamus hot take.
This is going to be a hot take because I think it's going to be about OKC. All right. I think OKC is good, obviously. I mean, look at 27-1 record against the East this year. I mean, that's insane. That's absolutely, I mean, 1 loss against a conference, and they're going for 70 wins, which is, I would say after the Warriors did it, there was a record when the Warriors did it, 73 wins. Now, the Thunder won't get to that mark this year, but getting to a mark like 70 is just, I mean, we see it this season. We were able to name off 5 stupid losses right off the bat. It's easy to sustain those stupid losses. Even last year with the Celtics, 23-24, we lost to the Charlotte Hornets on a Miles Bridges prayer early in the season that year. I mean, after the Memphis game, that came after we faced the Grizzlies on the second night of a back-to-back. It's so hard to not lose stupid games in an 82-game regular season. The Thunder haven't done that this season. However, in the playoffs, I believe if the Los Angeles Lakers attain the number 4 seed, they'll face the 5-seeded Grizzlies, who we saw tonight play. I don't think the Grizzlies are playoff ready whatsoever because of what happened to them. Maybe we'll get to that in a minute here. Lakers, Grizzlies, round 1. I could see that. I could see the Lakers kind of shoveling the Grizzlies, to the side a little bit, I think in round 2, I think the Lakers might be able to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in round 2.
Stop.
All right, I'm grabbing some water because that's a hot take. Like
That's a hot take.
I'm just saying. every time I watch the Lakers, I go, this team is specifically equipped to disrupt a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're specifically equipped to slow down the game of basketball with Luka
Right.
and LeBron on offense. They're going to slow down Oklahoma City. They have size. That's the one thing that stood out to me when the Oklahoma City Thunder played the Boston Celtics. And I was very upset the Celtics didn't take advantage of it. Remember back to that night at the Garden where the Celtics took 63 3-pointers against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Despite having the size advantage, Oklahoma City dominated inside of the paint. That's what made no sense about that game. You had 63 threes from the Boston Celtics. You had all this paint scoring from the Celtics. And I thought the Celtics were the more sizable team. I mean,
you think? I'm
Rob.
sorry. You said LA has a size advantage over Oklahoma City, or Oklahoma City has a size advantage over LA in terms of that matchup?
No, I think LA will have the size advantage over Oklahoma City. Now, when it comes to the big man spot, you're not going to see an advantage there from Los Angeles. But, but
a forward standpoint,
I'll say the forward and the guard standpoint, I do believe the Oklahoma City Thunder, when they meet the Los Angeles Lakers, I think they're going to be facing a little bit more sizable of a team than people give them credit for, a little bit more physical of a team than people give them credit for. I think a motivated team as well. I think LeBron, I mean, even for all of what he's proved in his NBA career, he believes he's the GOAT. I mean, come on now. I mean, everything he's done, there's a lot of statistics that stand out as saying LeBron is the GOAT. But beside that argument, LeBron is aged 40. If he were to take out a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder or even go on a Western Conference run, and there's motivation inside of LeBron too, next alongside Luka Doncic. He realizes how special of a player he's playing next to. I'm sure he does. There's going to be motivation inside LeBron. Luka, his fiery competitiveness, I see it. I don't see it in the weight room or the workout room, but I see it on the basketball court when he plays out there. Luka Doncic, he hates the fact that he was traded. Okay, he probably takes that way personally, and he probably wants to stick it to the Dallas Mavericks by in the NBA playoffs playing well, and that's what we saw last year with Luka and the Dallas Mavericks in that playoff run against Oklahoma City. Is Luka at the end of those games, even against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Luka at the end of those games was able to control the pace of those games, control the offense, and I think in a series against between the Los Angeles Lakers and Oklahoma City Thunder, those two teams facing off, I believe personally the Lakers, they have the one player out west. You could say two, you could say the Denver Nuggets and Jokic as well, but they have the one player out west, maybe one of the two players out west, who could go toe-to-toe with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in terms of being the top bucket getter down the stretches of games. I see the Oklahoma City Thunder, yes, they have that bucket getter in SGA down the stretch in big playoff moments. However, if there were any player to match him in that scenario, it's Luka Doncic. It's 100% Luka Doncic. And I believe the Lakers, with their two stars at the top, LeBron James, Luka Doncic running the offense, some of their shooters on the perimeter, Austin Reeves, I mean, he's a legitimate offensive creator at this point in time. I mean, he's kind of playing that perfect third slot on their team as a scorer, kind of just takes over in the moments where they're kind of staggering on and off the court with Luka and LeBron, and he kind of places that off-ball shooting guard almost for the Los Angeles Lakers. I think what the Lakers have offensively, they know themselves, they know their identity, they know their scorers, the guys who are going to set their offense up. They have two just geniuses running the entire offense. And then defensively, I think they're actually the worst defenders on the Lakers, the worst defenders on the Lakers. It's LeBron and it's Luka. It's their two stars. That's what gives me a little weary about the Lakers. But outside of them, I think the Lakers have the size, and I think they have the defensive matchups to go against the Oklahoma City Thunder. That, and of course, the experience. I don't want to say the experience factor, I think, is going to be, I think it's a little overstated with Oklahoma City because it's like they were there last year. You know, they're young, but they were there last year. They have SGA. He's actually been there with the Clippers as well, back when he was a rookie against the Golden State Warriors in that 6-game series where Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell took over in, I believe, game 3 or 4 of that. No, it must have been game 5 of that series. Game 1, 2, 5, it was in Golden State. But I think the Lakers, out of all the teams out west, it's the Lakers and the Nuggets for me. I keep looking at going, I think they have the matchups to beat Oklahoma City. The Nuggets, I don't know if they're going to I look at where the Nuggets' path is right now. They could fall down to 4. They could be at 3. We don't really know how the West is really going to slot up in terms of those playoff positions. But if the Lakers face the Grizzlies in round 1 and they're waiting for Oklahoma City in round 2, I would not be shocked if we see a second straight year where Oklahoma City, as a number 1 seed, goes out in round 2 to a team led by Luka Doncic. I would not be shocked whatsoever. That's my hot take for the night. That's my hot take for the night. I understand how good Oklahoma City is, but I think the playoffs, they're a different animal. I think
Either
the
one
Lakers are
might
going to
not.
get them to play a little bit differently.
I think you got the wrong experienced team out west. I think it's Golden
Yeah.
State that does that.
Oh,
Ooh.
I think
Yeah,
As what seed?
Need to
As
fire.
what seed?
Well, so hear me out. So if we're looking at it, so here's the thing with Golden State. They're playing some phenomenal basketball with Jimmy Butler. And if there's one man, if there's two guys right now, there's a handful, but Jimmy and Steph in the playoffs, they take it to another level. And here's my reason why I look at LA and I think they're a year away, because they really need to retool. I think offensively, you are relying completely on LeBron James and Luka Doncic to generate every aspect of the game to win 4 times in a series. And I look at LeBron and I don't think he can do that anymore. Yeah, at the age of 40, he can't do that every playoff game. It's too much and unfair to ask for him. I could be completely wrong, because there's one thing, doubting LeBron James does not work out for you. But I think from an offensive standpoint, they're not going to be able to keep up in score on Oklahoma City's defense, the best defense in the NBA. I think the size at the center position really, really, really matters when you're dealing with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, who in my eyes is probably the best front court, excuse me, in the NBA probably right now, or is Chet in Hartenstein that 1-2 punch. I do think that matters. And while I agree with you in terms of the forwards and what Luka can do with the ball, what LeBron can do with the ball, and I think Reeves can get a bucket really whenever you need him to. But I look at that interior, and that is a gaping hole that the Lakers have against a team, in my eyes, in Oklahoma City that doesn't have many holes, right? And I talk about the two things you look at, talent and then experience. The talent for Oklahoma City is like up here, to LA is like down here. And then is the experience, what you're saying is that experience is enough to match it and make it a level playing field.
I would say some of the experience, but I just, for me, I look at the offensive end of the floor for the Lakers. I think they have something amazing going on there that doesn't get enough credit from the standpoint of Luka and LeBron. I really thought when these two would be, I mean, well, first off, my opinion back when we did our segment on them and when that trade happened, it was they might be a little bit too redundant for each other. It might take a minute. It's like, who's going to play off ball? What's going to I think they have the right match. I think they have the right mix when it comes to both of them, because, I mean, we kind of forgot about it when Luka Doncic was traded, or I don't want to say we forgot about it, but I forgot about it, where it's like, okay, these guys, Luka and LeBron, they're just basketball geniuses. They're going to figure out how to get buckets on the offensive end of the floor. They're going to figure out how to play unselfishly with each other. I think offensively, the Lakers certainly have enough to match Oklahoma City in that scenario. I would tend to agree. Yes, the bigs to me are a problem with the Los Angeles Lakers. I look at them and I go, Jackson Hayes, Alex Lynn. Really, there's not much there whatsoever. I don't even think Mark Williams. I wouldn't have liked that Mark Williams trade
I think that
for the
trade
Lakers. Anyway, go ahead, Franco.
I think that trade would have I would have almost locked in that argument over the Lakers being able to win a 7-game series over the Thunder if that Mark Williams trade wasn't rescinded. I think that he may not be as big of an impact player, but what he does on the court, being that rebounder, that glass cleaner, is something that the Lakers didn't have in the slightest. Now it is a team that is full of wings. It's a completely different look, which kind of separates them from the other competition. That's why I think the West is going to be kind of a wild card. When we get down to that round 2, it's going to be some really weird numbers. You might see the 5 and 8 seed matching up in the second round, and then the 6 and who else would it be? It would
I'm
be
telling
like
you,
6
8
and
seed
7.
right now. That mean OKC is going out round 1.
I'm just saying, like, I just think that this is looking like a very interesting Western Conference, and I think looking at it, the doesn't matter who the Lakers and Thunder get through, or gets through the second round, Laker or Thunder. I think that the Denver Nuggets are kind of be the team that's the final ones left standing, just because of the completeness of the build of their team.
Right.
You look at the Oklahoma City Thunder; the Nuggets kind of have everything to match what the Nuggets are throwing out there, except for the hustle. And if you're looking for a player that can go basket for basket and who can dominate a game more, Nikola Jokic or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think I'm taking Jokic every time, just due to the fact of the impact he has on the offensive side of the court, and also how well he gets the other players involved on his team, because that's
Right.
kind of I still view that team as the same team since their championship.
Which they're
Obviously,
not, though. Which they're not.
yeah, and they have lost players, Bruce Brown and other players of that sort, and have also made additions, but that's a long tenure that they've been separated from it, but they still have the same core around Jokic, and I think it's
I'm
you
off
know,
the Nuggets train. I'm off the Nugget.
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing is, like, that's the special part about the playoffs is you really can't cover. You have to really cover each potential playoff matchup, like, in almost every aspect, right? Because Franco was just talking about Jokic, and that's such a good point. You can go toe for toe with Shea any day of the week. But then, like, for me, it's like, okay, my brain goes, okay, what's Jamal Murray going to give you? Because Jamal Murray is the X factor in any series, I think, against a top team in the league. When you look at the Denver Nuggets, right, you know what you get out of Jokic, what Jamal Murray you're going to get, because it feels like Murray's play is so polarizing, where it's either really, really good and he is this high echelon of score that works so well running that pick and roll with Jokic and playing alongside of him, and he's a true two. And then there's sometimes where he's out there and he looks lost and he's a shell of himself. But yeah, no, I'm out on Denver. I just don't think they have. Again, Jokic. Anytime you have Jokic, you have a chance. So I'm not like saying they don't have a chance, but I don't think I would pick them because of just how lazy their management's been and their front office has been. And they won that championship in 2023. And since that moment, they've let Bruce Brown walk, and they've let KCP walk, and they've just let the core elements to really what made their team so dynamic and special, right? Yes, Jokic is amazing, and he transcends talent around him. But you got to think about a core, right? Which championship team presents, right? Losing KCP, losing Bruce Brown, those aren't nothing. Those are two highly contributing facts. That's your 6-man and your starting 3 on that championship team. Since then, they've been very okay with making the playoffs. They got their Jokic jersey sales. They got their ticket sales. They got a chance. They got a generational talent. They already got a ring in Denver, which they did not think they were going to get. They lucked into the second round freak of a player that's Jokic. I think the GM is sitting there thinking, we're good. Whatever happens, happens. If Jokic goes on this generational run again, then awesome. If not, I'm sitting here. We're making money, right? The team is in the playoffs. They're competitive. So I don't look at Denver as a serious competitor because their front office hasn't been serious whatsoever.
All right, folks. I'm gonna stand up for the Denver Nuggets right now. I'm gonna stand up for the Denver Nuggets.
As a former visitor, I'm
gonna stand up for the Denver Nuggets right now because I believe the Denver Nuggets. You say Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Bruce Brown, they're gone. I've been making those points as well for the past really year and a half, or well, ever since KCP signed in Orlando the last year. The Denver Nuggets, to me, though, I will say that the interesting aspect of their team, they have the same they have the same parts of their team they had back in 2023, such as obviously the most important parts, Jokic, Jamal Murray at the top. They still have Aaron Gordon in there as well. Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr., they're paying a ton of money. You have those 4 players, okay? Those versatile players. You have your really all do it all Swiss Army knife and Nikola Jokic, your multi-time MVP. We know how great he is. Jamal Murray, I completely agree with you, Rob. He's going to be an X factor in a lot of series against top contenders in the Western Conference. But Gordon and Porter, specifically for the versatility on the defensive end of the floor, Porter for his shooting, that is just so important for the Denver Nuggets. That's the one thing about Denver that come playoff time, we'll see how that plays out, is Denver does not shoot 3-pointers. They're 30th in 3-point attempts, and looking at the roster, they don't have anybody who shoots threes at a high volume. The one guy is Michael Porter Jr. He's going to be so important when it comes to shooting in the playoffs. But Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon, defensive versatility, that's where it's going to come in big. Those are the 4 parts of the Denver Nuggets, which are the same from the 23 roster. But I look at the bench, right, and kind of replacing that 5th starter. They kind of rotate that 5th star around. Sometimes it's Christian Brown. Sometimes, they'll go and play a little bit more of a sizable lineup. But off the bench, Christian Brown, again, could be a starter, could be a bench guy, depending on the night. They have Christian Brown in there. There's Peyton Watson. There's Julian Strother. Those are all guys who could replace Bruce Brown, a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope potentially, and even Russell Westbrook. I think Russell Westbrook, everybody kind of, gave up on him a long time ago with the Los Angeles Lakers having those putrid seasons there. But he was supposed to be a superstar with the Lakers. Now he's just a 6th man coming off the bench for the Denver Nuggets, and I think he plays his role well. And I think looking at that talent acquisition by the Denver Nuggets, the Peyton Watson, Julian Strother, and Christian Brown, and Russell Westbrook off the bench, those guys, it's like, oh, could you replace the production of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope? Could you replace the production of Bruce Brown with those players? I think they've been able to do it a lot more this season than I actually expected. Me personally expected them to do at the beginning of this year. So I think the Denver Nuggets, I think they're actually more of a contender than people want to give them credit for, because, too, Jamal Murray said is the X factor. He's been playing his best basketball the second half of the season. The first half, he looked like, this is going to be like he's going to have to turn his game into a Chris Paul type of a game where he has to shift it up and be a little bit more crafty because he's not as explosive anymore. He's not as quick. He doesn't really get around the big guys. We've seen that completely change inside of Jamal Murray and externally on court the second half of the season. And I believe he's playing some of the best basketball of his entire career right now. So that's where I see the Denver Nuggets. They're another team who could take out the Oklahoma City Thunder. The only reason I don't see them as a hot take is because, number one, Denver, they could face Oklahoma City in round 2, but right now I believe they would have to make it to the conference finals against the Thunder. In that scenario, I could see Denver is certainly a formidable opponent against Oklahoma City. They're a former champion. The Lakers, I see that as a more hot take from the standpoint of they were just kind of grouped together at the middle of the season. They don't have a big guy, of course, as we mentioned, and even more so, they haven't won with this iteration of the roster. We've seen the Denver Nuggets win with that iteration. I would not be surprised if Denver makes it to the conference finals, competes with Oklahoma City, and even beats them. The Thunder, 2 kryptonite teams out west, I see 100% when it comes to who could beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's the Denver Nuggets. It's the Los Angeles Lakers. And I'll even throw this out about the Lakers. They don't have a big guy, but they have a bunch of guys like Dalton Connect, Jordan Goodwin, my guy Jordan Goodwin, all right, 10 minutes, 15 minutes up the street. Grew up from myself here. But Jordan Goodwin, you also have Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt, but those aren't even the main guys. Rui Hachimura and Dorian Finney-Smith, those forwards are so big, they're nearly centers. I mean, that's really how big some of those forwards are for the Los Angeles Lakers. They can really make it tough on big guys against the Denver Nuggets. That's if the Lakers and the Nuggets were to get if they were to advance into a series against each other, I think that would, now say that was before an Oklahoma City series potentially in that scenario. I'm trying to figure out how that exactly would have to play out. I guess one of them would have to get the 2 seed, which the Rockets hold right now. Rockets are just going ahead of everybody for that 2 seed. But the Lakers and the Nuggets, that matchup right there is pretty revealing to me on how the Lakers can stymie bigger teams than themselves. Now, when it comes to the center position for the Los Angeles Lakers, they're not going to have an advantage over any team. I mean, Jackson Hayes and Alex Lynn, that's an advantage over nobody. That it just absolutely nobody from the big man slot. But when it comes to the size and physicality making the other team feel you, I think the Lakers have enough big bodies at those forward positions, specifically Rui Hachimura, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jared Vanderbilt. We talked about some other players on the Lakers roster. I mean, I love Jordan Goodwin. He's a little bit smaller of a player, but even Gabe Vincent, we know what he did in Miami. He's a physical guard out there as well. Dalton Knecht can be a physical player. Cam Reddish as well. But all those guys, to me, I think they could really disrupt somebody who's a little less physical in Chet Holmgren. I think they could really disrupt somebody who might be a little less physical as a big man in Isaiah Hardenstein. That's just what I see out there. Rob's not in the panel here anymore, but I will say the Los Angeles Lakers, just because they don't have a big guy, don't mistake the Lakers. They have size. They have physicality. I can't believe I'm standing up for the Lakers here on a Celtics broadcast. We're all Celtics analysts, but I have to when it comes to the Lakers out west potentially being an opponent who could beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, because the Lakers, I think they're that team that could possibly completely muck up a series against the Oklahoma City Thunder to the point where the Thunder are not playing anywhere near the game they want to play, and the Lakers are playing exactly how they want to play. They're playing exactly, or they're forcing the Thunder to play exactly how they want the Thunder to play. And I think in those scenarios, the Los Angeles Lakers, they could 100% beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. I could see it right now. LeBron James, it's game 5 in Oklahoma City. The Thunder, they're down 2-1 in the series. It's game, or what? It would be what? They're 3. I could see. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna throw out a scenario here, but I will say I can see a game where it's at OKC. The crowd is a little tight. Oklahoma City, they're playing super slow. I can see LeBron, Luka taking it up the floor, them getting whatever they want on the offensive end, them creating whatever shot they want on the offensive end, and then on the defensive end, them forcing Oklahoma City into shots they do not want to take. That's what I see in a series between the Lakers and the Thunder potentially. That's my hot take of the night. The Lakers, I think they're a team that Oklahoma City Thunder absolutely should watch out for, and I think they could beat them in round 2.
Do you want to hear an even hotter take?
Okay, Griffin, hit it.
You guys ready for this? It doesn't matter who goes up in the West, all right? It doesn't matter. Because see this? It doesn't matter. The Boston Celtics are going back to back. You might see this matchup right here. You might see Celtics versus Nuggets, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because the Boston Celtics are going back to back. You heard it here. Listen, we've been talking about it all year. Banner 18 last year. We won it last year. But this year, Banner 19. All right. We think about this right now. All right. This might be me being superstitious, but last year, the Boston Celtics had 18 losses. This year, we're at 19. I'm saying some things are connecting to Banner 19. So it doesn't matter who we got. I'm going Celtics. I mean, I'm going to say right here, if we go back to back, I'm getting another Celtics tattoo. I'll say it right here, right now. If the Boston Celtics go back to back, I'll get another Celtics tat.
Well, if you really want to do it, you got to be like Jack and get the free banner.
Whoa. We don't. No. Because I'm not going to do that, because when he did that, they lost. So I can't have bad energy in the air. I will say I am a superstitious fan. I used to be so. I settled down, but that's like pushing it a little more. So you know, I can't do it. And I'm 19 now. So 19, Banner 19.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, breaking news. I'm calling a timeout on the show. Stopping everything right now. Where's the alarm button? I don't even have an alarm button. Here, we'll shoot off the gunshots. We'll set off the gunshots. We'll set off the applause, the theater. It is Griffin Aldrich's birthday. Celtics nationwide. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
First of all, happy birthday, Griffin. I wish we could play you a song on here, but it's gonna get copyrighted.
Yeah. I know. YouTube, but it's copyright. But I want to say something really quick. I want to say thank you so much I'm so happy to spend the beginning of the birthday with you guys. It's a great way to spend it tonight. You know, can't ask for anything better. Talking about the Celtics on your birthday, what? You know,
Get birthday present too here. Birthday present as well. Celtics win 9 straight.
Yeah.
9 straight wins. Did you
9.
think 2 weeks ago the Celtics wouldn't lose all the way up until your birthday?
Honestly,
wait. Happy April 1st too. It's not April 1st for me, but it is for you guys.
Yeah. So yeah. That's the unfortunate.
Wait. Sorry, folks. I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud. It's not your birthday, Griffin. I'm a fraud.
Jeez. Yeah.
April Fools.
Hit me with that one.
Wow.
Yeah. No, but that's the unfortunate cause on my birthday because like they're like, oh, happy birthday, and then they're like, oh, April Fools. Yeah. Yo, thank you guys though. You know what that means though? Celtics going back to back. That's all for my birthday. No, you can't say your birthday wishes, but like, you know, my birthday present.
Your 19th birthday, banner 19. Why not?
Yeah, and then we'll get banner 19. We'll get
banner 20 for when your 20th birthday.
Yeah, then 21, 22. We could just keep going. Like
I'm not complaining over here.
Yeah, I'm not mad about that at all. Like that's what I want for my birthday present. I want for my birthday present. That's all I'm asking for this year is I want the Celtics to bring home banner 19. That's all I want. It's a big present, but like I think that's that's worth asking.
It's reasonable. It's a reasonable gift. It's a reasonable gift to ask for, I will say. But I hate to get us off the birthday topic here. I will say I hate to get us off the birthday topic, but something that wasn't reasonable this past week in the NBA that just brings us to our last topic of tonight. As we just hit 2 hours on this post-game show, we got to talk about this.
Boss is gonna kill me.
Woo! The Memphis Grizzlies fire head coach Taylor Jenkins. You know what? I did this totally wrong. You know, we should have went to the tweet first. I thought we were more experienced on here. You know what? Here you go, guys. Here you go. Taylor Jenkins was called into the Grizzlies front office this morning, not this morning, but actually 3 days ago, and was fired in person. Sources tell ESPN stunning dismissal. Jenkins now becomes one of the top head coaches or head coaching candidates for the upcoming cycle this offseason. He had a .539 winning percentage as the Grizzlies head coach. Of course, you see there, it is tweeted over the Memphis Grizzlies have parted ways with head coach Taylor Jenkins. And this is where I'm talking about the experience. We should have brought this graphic up after the tweet. But as you see here, guys, on the top of the screen, the Memphis Grizzlies get rid of their head coach Taylor Jenkins. We saw the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. Franco, we kind of talked about it the other night, but we're going to get a little bit more in depth at the end of this show here tonight on that transaction as we face the Memphis Grizzlies. And this is really, you think you see everything in the NBA, but then all of a sudden you see something you've never seen before. And this is, of course, in the Grizzlies firing Taylor Jenkins. But we'll start with you, Franco. What are your thoughts on this?
It kind of, well, first off, the timeliness of this situation happening now. They're I believe only 10 games. They were probably only 10 games away from turning around in the playoffs, let alone not just in like a play-in position, but they are within the top 6 seeding of the playoffs. It's not like they're going to be a one and done in the play-in. They're not one of those teams. The roster that they had around them is something that I have felt extremely confident in. This was a team that I thought was going to be a top contender. I would have thought that the Memphis Grizzlies would be doing just about what the Houston Rockets have been able to do this season, if not better. And I thought they were only going to be able to build around this team. Obviously, a few acquisitions were made during the trade deadline where they shipped off Marcus Smart and a few other players. I believe Jake LaRavia was another player that was sent off, and I'm sure that's the thing about the Grizzlies is there's so many. It's a team that has, when this season started, I was looking at their roster all the way to the 18 with the 3 two-way players. I was like, wow, there is not a single player on this Memphis roster that I wouldn't feel comfortable playing for 20 minutes in a game. And obviously, they've had to dilute and change their operations around. And the Taylor Jenkins has been one of the more tenured coaches in the NBA, especially with how quick the turnover is for NBA coaches in the NBA at this point in the in this era. But just there must have, like we said before, and I didn't do the research before joining us again tonight. There had to be something going on behind closed doors. If there was some situation that was mishandled, if there was a goal that was intended to be reached, but no GM or owner within their right mind releases their head coach this close to a playoff series. Obviously, we've seen it in past where teams, if it happens earlier in the season, that's why I kind of was concerned about tonight's game against the Memphis Grizzlies. There's a lot of times that in recent history that we've seen teams win in spite of their coach being fired. Like the the good example, I I think it was like ooh oh man, I'm blanking on it, but usually teams will be able to. I'm thinking of the Boston Bruins. I'm thinking of a an NBA comparison, but
Franco, you're talking about teams who have won without their head coach, right?
yeah, teams.
Well, the early season representation of this was Doug Christie and the Sacramento Kings. Remember, they came into the Garden with Doug Christie, and they were on a
Right.
6-7 game winning streak, and yeah,
that's who I was looking for. But yeah, if obviously we've seen that happen. Sometimes a coach just doesn't have the locker room, and it didn't seem like that was the case with Taylor Jenkins. It seemed like he was well respected, and obviously there just had to be something that went wrong. But that kind of concerns me for the. Obviously, the Grizzlies have a lot of young pieces on that team, so hopefully they can bring in a coach during next offseason, but they kind of just threw away a perfectly good opportunity. Not to say that they were going to be contending for a championship or anything, but there's a very solid chance that they could have made it past the first round. But now, without a head coach and having an interim coach step in and going into a playoff series, that just doesn't bode well for them in any standpoint. So it kind of turns them into a second round from a second round contender into almost a first round elimination.
I don't really have much to say on the Grizzlies firing head coach Taylor Jenkins, but one thing I do have to say is like, any playoff hopes, like, all right, I don't know what went on behind closed doors. Like, I'm not there, so I don't know, and I didn't do much research on it, but like, it shows you like how much they care about this playoff series. Like, it shows you how much they care, because if they were so eager, I feel like, I don't know exactly what went down. I didn't know how severe it was behind closed doors, but like, you would think if you're trying to make a playoff run, then you would like put some whatever you got aside. I don't know, like I said, don't know how extreme it is, but you'd put it aside for a playoff run. But it just shows you kind of like they're kind of looking past this year. I mean, you don't do that with that little left of the season. It's just a don't. You don't do that. So it's a sudden move for them, and it's like it's definitely a head scratcher. It's like one of those kind of, it's nowhere near like why the Mavs traded Luka for 80. It's not like that, but it's on the borderline of that, I would say. Like we're so close to playoffs, and you couldn't wait till off season to do this. Like, it's definitely for sure a head scratcher. And I think I feel like the Grizzlies, like, they're a hard fighting team. I know you guys know that. Like, when when the Grizzlies are healthy and they have their full team with John Morant, Zach Edey now, Jaren Jackson Jr., you got Desmond Bane, former Celtic, right there. But when you got that team and you have Taylor Jenkins, he's been a solid head coach. I mean, you throw all of that away pretty much with firing him, especially before playoffs, and that can do a lot of impact. I don't know if he had some beef with the players or whatever, but like that could really put a toll on your players too, because I heard it during the broadcast. A lot of these players only had him as their head coach, and like that's a thing that you lose that all of a sudden. You're not used to it, and it's a big sudden change, and they could kiss their playoff hopes goodbye, or they could prove me wrong. Maybe they have some kind of Cinderella story, honestly, where they just come here and the underdogs and destroy. But ultimately, I think that move for the Grizzlies is like really a head scratcher, and it's like you couldn't wait 2 weeks, like a few, like a month till your off season
Right.
ends for him.
It's literally a month. Literally a month.
Really?
And for me, this firing is just the Grizzlies. Okay, everybody tracks the stars, right? At the top. Everybody's looking at where every star player is going, which star players are on what teams, and what's going on with the stars, right? It's all about star acquisitions, right? It's not just about the stars when it comes to winning in the NBA. Almost every team has some level of star. The bottom feeder teams, even look at the Utah Jazz. Lauri Markkanen is an all-star on the Utah Jazz's roster. And you look at all the stars out there, there are plenty of them. They are plentiful, right? But what really makes a winning squad in the NBA is all of the moves a front office makes around the margins. And for the past couple of seasons, the Memphis Grizzlies have been secretly one of the worst front offices in the entire NBA. One of the worst, okay? I'll take you guys through this. First of all, in 21-22, they made the playoffs, surprisingly, as the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. They faced off against the Minnesota Timberwolves in round 1. It was the 2-7 matchup out west. Was the 2-7 matchup? I feel like it was. I feel like that was the 2-7 matchup. I want to get the seeding right here. But regardless, face off against the Minnesota Timberwolves in round 1, right? They win that series. They go into round 2. They face the Golden State Warriors. John Morant gets hurt in that series, and the Warriors take out the Grizzlies in 6 games. The Grizzlies kind of fall apart near the end of that year. The next season, the Grizzlies, they go through the Western Conference. They maintain the number 2 seed again, and then I want to say in 2022, were the Grizzlies the 3 seed? Were they the 2 seed or were they the 3 seed? I don't remember. But here's the thing, is that in 22-23, that was the Ja Morant gun situation that popped up, and that completely threw off the Grizzlies season. I mean, he was suspended on and off. You saw in the Lakers series, yep. There you go. There you go. Ja Morant. He was in the chat. Ja Morant is in the chat, folks. But that was the year in which the Grizzlies faced adversity from the standpoint of Ja Morant and the gun situation. And then in the first round of the NBA playoffs, they were taken out by a 7 seed in the Los Angeles Lakers. Also, just fact checking here, the Grizzlies were the number 2 seed in 2022. Surprising they were the number 2 seed all the way back in 2022. That was a real surprising Grizzlies team. Regardless, that year it looked like, oh, the Grizzlies are up next. Number 2 in the Western Conference, that year was the Grizzlies and Cavs. 21-22, it was the Grizzlies, the Cavs, and even the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics were kind of reforming themselves, right? They made it to the finals that year. They were reforming themselves from 2020, making that Eastern Conference Finals run. But the Cavs and Grizzlies, they impressed as young teams. The Grizzlies, the number 2 seed out west. They won a series against the Minnesota Timberwolves, played the Golden State Warriors, the eventual champions, in the second round, took them to 6 games. And then the next year, they attained the number 2 seed yet again. But then it starts falling off a cliff from there. 22-23 starts falling off a complete cliff. The next year, the Grizzlies, of course, go and trade for Marcus Smart. He misses most of the year last year. Ja Morant misses most of the year last year. And the Grizzlies, they're injured across the board, yet they still kind of overachieve within the margins of who's playing. You know, Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams. Unfortunately, Gigi Jackson's been hurt this season, but Vince Williams, we saw him out there tonight. Yet that year, last year, was just complete disaster for the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies come into this year, They're overlooked, of course, as a team out west, and people had them even as high as the 2 seed coming into this season, going, look, this Grizzlies team is overlooked. They're going to be good again. They're not going to be the 13th seed in the West. That's just not going to happen. They're going to be above the play-in, or maybe in the play-in. Who knows? But a lot of people had them somewhere in that mid tier of the Western Conference to high tier, right? The highest tier. Well, that's exactly what the Grizzlies were able to achieve this season. They're the 5 seed right now. They were sitting in the 2 slot for a good majority of the season. 2, 3, 4, 5. They're really in that range of the Western Conference. They held the number 2 seed for quite a while. And 9 games left in the regular season, the Grizzlies fire Taylor Jenkins, their head coach. That, to me, alarm bells are just going off on number 1, incompetent organization. And number 2, something behind the scenes is not right when it comes to Taylor Jenkins and his ball club. He must have said something, must have had a bad relationship. Something must have been just completely over the top that we don't know about and has not been released from the public. Because I'll add this in: Taylor Jenkins did not know he was getting fired. I mean, the last press conference he had, I watched the whole thing. The man had no clue. He was talking like it was a normal game, normal setting, whatever. It wasn't his finale.
You think it
Go
was?
ahead, Griffin.
You think it was kind of like an Ime Udoka situation, maybe?
It has to.
That's a little
It has to
extreme, but I will say,
Not
like,
that
could it be
extreme,
something in that? Well, when I say extreme, he probably. I'm not going to go ahead and say Taylor Jenkins was finagling with other Grizzlies staff members, but I'll say, could something have happened where, he doesn't have the greatest relationship with John Morant, doesn't have the greatest relationship with the owner? That's why I talk about, hey, Bill Chisholm, you got to have great relationships with the head coach and your players. They are the ones making the decisions.
Topic.
But I'm saying, that's why I'm talking about the owners, though.
Yeah,
That's what I see with the Grizzlies. I go, it could have been something with Ja, could have been something with Jaren Jackson Jr. And I even look at Taylor Jenkins and John Moran, go, those are 2 different personalities. Their head coach, player. Do they match up that well? Could have been a relationship with the owner, something said behind the scenes. But it screams out incompetency when a team fires a head coach 9 games away from the NBA playoffs, when you're in the 5 seed and you have the chance to go out and grab the 2 seed. Increasingly less so now, that chance becoming for the Memphis Grizzlies as the Rockets run ahead with the 2 seed. But the Grizzlies were in the running for the 2 seed. They fire their head coach with 9 games left. I mean, you're throwing away a season. You're throwing away another season. That's 3 straight seasons from the Memphis Grizzlies where they're throwing away their season. I mean, look, 2022, that was their first. They broke through. They made their run where they showed the world, hey, we're here. We're the Memphis Grizzlies. We're here. We're here to compete. We're not quite contenders, but we're getting up to that level. Ever since then, it's been about shifting around the margins of their roster. And I'll show this graphic here in a second what I'm talking about. Ever since then, 22-23, thrown away season because of Ja Morant's situation. The next year, the whole team's injured. Can't really do much about that. But 23-24, you're 13th in the West. And this year, you fire your head coach to be the Memphis Grizzlies 9 games before the playoffs. That's 3 straight seasons since the Grizzlies showed everybody, hello, we're here out West. We're the 2 seed. We're coming to contend. 3 straight seasons of just complete and utter thrown away basketball when it comes to the end of the year by the Memphis Grizzlies. And even talking about this, look, this is from last year, okay? I brought this graphic up on a show that actually wasn't released, and see, that's why it's a little weird here, the graphic. But anyway, this is from Basketball Reference, and you see that 21 squad who made. I mean, look, you go ahead on these. I'm trying to look here, see. I feel like these might be the wrong year. I feel like they might be the wrong year. I'm not too certain. I feel like I don't know, but here's the roster comparisons. I'm not sure why I have all these highlighted, and I got to get my facts straight here. But regardless, you have players in here that you just notice they're gone. They're gone the next year. I mean, they let Jonas Valanciunas walk. Who do they replace him with? Nobody. I mean, Xavier Tillman, Brandon Clark. Talking about those guys. I mean, you're replacing Jonas Valanciunas with them. I mean, Kyle Anderson, he's off the roster. He's gone. Dylan Brooks, gone. Grayson Allen, gone. DeAnthony Melton, gone. Tyus Jones, gone. I mean, look at all those players. All gone. All gone. I mean, you're talking about Dylan Brooks, Jonas Valanciunas, Kyle Anderson, Grayson Allen, DeAnthony Melton, Tyus Jones. All gone from the roster. All gone. You know, I can't really understand why I have these players highlighted the way they're up on here, but you kind of see the trend here with the Memphis Grizzlies just year to year with their rosters. They are lesser rosters year after year. They're just lesser. They are, and it's unfortunate for the Memphis Grizzlies. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to around the margins and the Memphis Grizzlies. Their rosters are getting worse year after year after year. And the Memphis Grizzlies, if you are sitting there in 21-22, the 21 season was the play-in year, and then 22, they grabbed the 2 seed. Those are the 2 years they were showing everybody they were here. They were here to compete in the Western Conference. They broke through their breakout seasons, right? After that, it's just been a dwindling of talent, replacing them with nobody. And then now we're to a point where we see 3 straight seasons where the Grizzlies have just completely thrown away their chances to go and compete in the playoffs for an NBA championship and to build that experience up come playoff time. It's extremely frustrating. Just from I won't even say from a I mean, obviously, wait, where'd my hat go? Where'd my hat go? Obviously, folks, from St. Louis here, from the Lou, right? From the Lou, not the bathroom, but the city. Memphis is 4 hours away. You see it on the street signs everywhere. Memphis is kind of the satellite team. You know, Memphis, Indiana, Chicago, Milwaukee. Those are the satellite teams around St. Louis, right? From my perspective, I'm like, I want to see the Grizzlies do well, right? I want to see them do well. The Grizzlies cannot stop shooting themselves in the foot. This is not a good organization.
Guns down.
This is not. Yep, that's actually great. That's actually great. That's actually a great point. But the Grizzlies are an incompetent organization. They've shown it year after year. They still have Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson. They're still competing. People see that and they go, okay, Grizzlies, they're incompetent. Okay, the organization is completely incompetent. They've gotten rid of players, like I said, Grayson Allen, DeAnthony Melton, Valanciunas, Anderson, all these guys. They haven't replaced them with anybody over the years. Dylan Brooks as well. I understand why you don't give some of these guys the contracts you do, but hello, you didn't replace the talent anywhere else. And now you're firing your head coach with 9 games left in the regular season. And I'll mention this. I mentioned this last post game, I think. All but 2 of the Memphis Grizzlies. So out of the whole staff last year for the Memphis Grizzlies, right? The whole coaching staff, every staff member for the Grizzlies on the coaching staff was fired last year, all but 2 of them, and the head coach in Taylor Jenkins. Well, Taylor Jenkins was just fired along with those 2 head coaches. So now, or along with those assistant coaches, those 2 assistant coaches. So now the Grizzlies, when it comes to the coaching staff in 23-24 and then now 24-25 going into the playoffs, the staff is 100% completely different. The Grizzlies only brought back 3 members from last year's coaching staff. One of them was Taylor Jenkins, being the head coach. He's fired along with the 2 other assistant coaches that were brought back. So the Grizzlies completely new head coaching staff. But I'm just going to point this out again. The Grizzlies, I've been waiting to say this forever. They are incompetent. They're one of the teams right now in the NBA that whatever move they make, it's typically head scratching. I mean, Jake LaRavia, all right? Franco, you mentioned Jake LaRavia. Jake LaRavia, the Memphis Grizzlies declined his 4th-year option. They declined a qualifying offer to Jake LaRavia. Didn't want to extend him a qualifying offer. That would have kept Jake LaRavia on the roster at least into next season on about a $3-4 million deal. Guess what? Jake LaRavia was playing well for the Grizzlies earlier this season. He was playing well, but now, he's a free agent in the offseason because they didn't pick up his option for next year, in which if they would have just picked him up, they would have had a small salary contributing player on their roster next season. Instead, they had to trade him halfway through this season with Marcus Smart. So their 2 assets, you saw that $20 million Marcus Smart deal they had on their roster. That was legitimate salary. and Jake LaRavia, who was a legitimate young player they could have thrown into a deal with Marcus Smart with the salary as well. That would have made up about $25 million worth of salaries. Do you think the Memphis Grizzlies got anything out of those players? No. The one player we saw play tonight who the Grizzlies got out of Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia was Marvin Bagley. Marvin Bagley, who you could have attained for a bag of circus peanuts last year. So the Memphis Grizzlies, I hate to say it, but they're one of the poorest ran clubs in the entire NBA, and it's an absolute miracle they're at the number 5 seed right now. And before too long, I think we're going to see guys like Jaren Jackson and John Morant ask on out of there, and the Grizzlies are going to be right back down there in the standings, unfortunately, because when you throw away 3 seasons like they've done, when you make some of the moves like they've made, especially this latest one, and firing Taylor Jenkins from all accounts out there from other head coaches, executives, every player around the league, Taylor Jenkins is a phenomenal head coach. There had to have been something said behind the scenes, done something behind the scenes in order for him to be ousted from that position, because otherwise, great head coach, always had great reviews. And again, Franco, I think you mentioned it too. The grit and the grind from the Grizzlies, the grit and grind Grizzlies from 10 years ago. This team embodied that team as well, and Taylor Jenkins was a huge part of that. And now he's out the door along with all these other players in which embody that culture in Memphis as well, like guys like Dylan Brooks, guys like Kyle Anderson, guys like Grayson Allen, DeAnthony Melton, Jonas Valanciunas. They didn't replace any of those players. They didn't get value out of any of those players. And now they just had one of the best head coaches in the NBA. They get rid of him too. This Grizzlies organization, they're way worse than people think out there. They're way, way worse when it comes to competency, running an organization. And that's, again, why I talk about the Celtics ownership the way I do, because you got to have good ownership in these situations. And I'm not certain the Grizzlies do. I'm just not. But that's going to bring me to the end of here. I guess the show tonight. I guess that's going to be it for us.
Miami next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Miami Wednesday, of course. We just saw Miami. Any last final thoughts on that from you guys here? Franco?
If the Celtics can figure out this winning stretch that they've been able to create on the road, I know that Hotel Hilton offers some great continental breakfasts in the morning. I know that the beds are nice. I know that JetBlue has some nice travel economy for the Celtics. But can you guys just win a game at home? Let's just create this winning culture in front of your lovely, lovely fans that you have here, right here in the 617, right in TD Garden. That's what we need to build up before playoffs, because as we all know, who have been to TD Garden, there is nothing more electric and rocking than being near the Garden in April, May, June. And you need to get that culture fired up now. There's been times during this season when we've seen that the Celtics struggling, and it doesn't seem like the same rambunctious crowd as it was. Obviously, the regular season's a little bit different, and so on and so forth, but this is a good opportunity to be a team who has been considered a rival for a long time with the Boston Celtics, even though they are looking like a completely different team than they were last year or the last time we faced off with them in the playoff series. But this is a potential play-in preview for the Boston Celtics, so this game does have a little bit of weight to it, even though we're starting to reach the dog days of the regular season.
All I gotta say is beat the Heat. That's all
Beat the Heat. That's really all you got to leave it at. As the Celtics, of course, 7 more games. Is it 7 right now? We're 7 games. I don't know. I've lost track within the last one game. I had 7 more games to go in the regular season for the Boston Celtics. Only 7 left. And we had this conversation with us 3 not too long ago. We're going to get to 60 wins.
Yeah,
It
we
looks like
are.
You called us crazy for 62. We were saying
You called us crazy. I went on. I said 60, but I was like, Franco, I'm going on the 62. I'm going with you, Franco. We're ride or die.
Here's how I'm looking.
Ride or
I
die.
honestly, earlier when we were talking about the records, not to interrupt here too bad, but like earlier, I was thinking, how did I miscalculate this so
Seamus,
awfully?
Seamus. Listen, Franco and I all right. I'm speaking for myself, but I bet Franco will agree.
We're not going 3 and 4. That's the thing here. We're not getting 59
listen.
wins. We're not going 3 and 4.
We will put you on the train if you agree that the rest of the season we go undefeated.
Oh,
We'll put you on the train. We'll put you on the
here's
train.
the problem. There's going to be games, Xavier Tillman, he's going to start.
There's that 1 o'clock Charlotte game. There's that 1 o'clock Charlotte
but
game on a Sunday, man.
Do you agree?
You know what? I'll say this. I'll say this. 7 games left. We're going 6-1. We're going 6-1. I'll say that right now.
All right, that's fair.
6-1. 6-1. I can get away with that. That puts us at what?
I'm going 7-0. I'm
That's
going
62.
7-0.
62. We can get to 63, but 62.
I don't care about the Hornets. 7-0. Franco, join it. Franco. Remember last time you did. What happened?
I'll always have faith in you. And also with the birthday, I'll go along with you.
Yeah. Remember last time this happened? I'm just saying. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna get into it, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
Well, 7 more games left in the regular season. I'm going 6-1. I'll go 6-1. I won't go undefeated. We got to lose. We can't have too big of a record going to the playoffs. That'd be too much pressure. Like, oh, Celtics, they're in the playoffs. They've won 18 straight. It's like, okay. Like, I witnessed the St. Louis Cardinals one year win, I believe, 17 straight. This was in 2021. 17 straight to end the regular season. Made it into the wild card. Met the Dodgers. Chris Taylor, walk-off home run on Alex Reyes, and that was it. That was the end of that winning streak is in the wild card game. So, for the Celtics' sake of things, let's lose one more game before we go into the NBA playoffs. But, of course, as we know, the NBA playoffs are not that far away as the Boston Celtics tonight take care of business in Memphis, beating the Grizzlies 117-103. This one was up in the air at times for the Boston Celtics, but at the end, the Boston Celtics take care of business, run away with this game. They make it actually more of a lopsided affair than what it seemed for most of the night. But Boston Celtics take home their 56th win of the season over the Memphis Grizzlies. They'll be back in action against the Miami Heat on the horizon, back at the Garden. Finally, the Boston Celtics, of course, finished their road trip, their 6-game road trip, as the only team in Celtics history to have gone undefeated, to won every single game. How about that? Every single game to have gone undefeated on a road trip of 6 or more games. The Celtics become that team tonight. That is just insane. A historical Celtics mark that is. But of course, the Celtics do it tonight in Memphis, Tennessee before coming home against the Miami Heat. We will have you guys covered here for that game. Just a reminder here, no music at the end because we have been.
No, we got some non-copyright music going right now.
Oh, we do? For real?
Yeah,
What do we got? Do we have a birthday song on? What's going on?
Sure.
I can't even hear it.
We'll call
I
it
can't
that.
even hear it.
It's some like
Dance pop.
It's bouncy.
I don't know, but that's going to end it here for us. Of course, happy birthday to Griffin as, let's see. You're 7 minutes away here in Central Time. I'm going to say that right. Still 7 minutes away here, but still on the East Coast. Happy birthday to Griffin. We will see you all the upcoming game against the Miami Heat. We will have you guys covered here on the Celtics Talk Weekly postgame show tonight alongside of me, Nick Franco, Griffin Aldridge. I'm your host, Seamus Zarlingo. Rob Haytain, of course, was here later as well. Earlier here with us as well. But that is going to do it for us here tonight. As I always say, thank you all for watching, and go Celtics.